best believe the fire's on its way now. Play dead, that's what you've been hoping. Told them I won't show, and they don't need to worry about me. But the quiet always comes first, then the devil brings the lightning and the thunder. Take a shot, come see what you made of. 'Cause fired up 'cause you know, 'cause I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. And I'm fired up 'cause you know, and I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. Shut down, turning all the lights up, calling me a writer. Thought you got the best of me, thought you had me nailed down, but you'll never get the keys or the crown. 'Cause there's something that you don't know about, something you ain't heard about, never really got about me. I'ma fight until the bell sounds, and you don't wanna get me in the ring now. So take a shot, come see what you made of. 'Cause I'm fired up 'cause you know, 'cause I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. And I'm fired up 'cause you know, and I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. Nowhere, 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 'cause there's nowhere better for me. Nowhere, 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 nowhere. Fired up 'cause you know, 'cause I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. And I'm fired up 'cause you know, and I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. 'Cause there's nowhere better for me. 'Cause there's nowhere better for me. I'm no immortal, but my fire will never die. They take me for a fool, I'm taken for a ride. The more my feet are battered, the more I'm taken down. The more they think I'm innocent, I'm fighting from the ground. 'Cause I can take this pain, it's changing me. I will rise up to the moment, and I won't stay the same. It's my decree. It's my decree. Burning like a flame, I'm coming a train. I'm coming your way, your way. Thunder with the rain, I'm flooding the game. Start running away, away. Battle through the pain, transforming the game. I'm storming your way, your way. And 'cause I can take this pain. It's changing me. I will rise up to the moment, and I won't stay the same. There's my decree. Burning like a flame, I'm coming a train. I'm coming your way. Thunder with the rain, I'm flooding the game. Start running away. Battle through the pain, transforming the game. I'm storming your way. And I won't stay the same as my decree.
Rated E10 for ages 10 and up.
You wanted the best, you got them for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws. iRacing is available now.
I was ready, 10 toes down, trying to fill up stadiums, minimum sold out, mind, body, and soul, got a heart full of gold, they can never hold me down, I keep my name on the low, how wild, my opponent been trying to chase for miles, the distance between looking like the West now, and my stamina adding up from setback, standing up, look crazy, they see me and start pulling out their cameras, tell them grab your pen, I'm giving lessons out, I'm getting bread, you won't worry about impression counts, nah, you got a clue, ain't even a single sense about having potential and trying to pull the legend.
This is the eNASCAR College iRacing Series.
Big dream to a big problem.
The cars may be virtual, but the racing and scholarships are real.
Big dream to a big problem. We got big bags. We got big problems. They been mad that we been got it. I turn a big dream to a big profit. I turn a big dream to a big profit. We got big bags. They got big problems. They been mad that we been got it. I turn a big dream to a big profit. I turn a big dream to a big profit.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to iRacing's coverage of the 7th and final race of the 2022 eNASCAR College iRacing Series, powered by NACE Starleague, the Play Seat 100 live for the virtual Nashville Superspeedway in Lebanon, Tennessee. James Pike, Terry Radford here to bring you all the action from this last race of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series for 2022. And Terry, had a lot of fun, and I know you being a Tennessee man, you are thoroughly going to enjoy tonight's action from our track in Tennessee for this series.
That's right. It's about time we came back to, I would say, Rocky Top land, because that's Tennessee runs this state. Let's be real here. The Volunteers always do it, but it's good to be in Nashville. You know, they said years ago, Alan Jackson said that his daddy won a radio and tuned it to a country show. Well, my daddy, he turned it to a racing show, and tonight we're going to fire him up on Honky Tonk Land here.
Those of you who are waiting for your Tennessee reference quotients, you can mark that off your bingo card as we turn our attention to this Nashville Superspeedway for tonight's Play Seat track analysis. Terry, you're the home guy, so we'll let you tackle this track. It's your home cooking after all.
That's right. I remember when this thing was built. It was opened in 2001. Elevations at 561 feet, length of 1.33 miles. That's 2.14 kilometers. Banked at 14 degrees, and I missed this track.
A lot of fun. Reopened in 2021 to bring in the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, and they've had two pretty good races there, along with races from the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series in the past two seasons. But we move from our track analysis to the starting grid, where we'll tell you where each and every driver will roll off. It is Garrett Lowe representing the University of North Carolina at Charlotte with the fast time of 30.571 seconds to take the pole tonight over Stephen Wilson, who is going for a sweep of the fall races in the College Series for 2022 out of the University of Iowa. James Scioli out of Eastern Washington University starts third. Logan Clampett from Saddleback College in California will roll off from fourth. John Hall from Massachusetts Maritime Academy starts in fifth spot. He's joined on the outside of row 3 by Jack Coyne from Venezuela Polytechnic Institute. Your final 4 in the top 10. Matt Morton starts 6th from The Ohio State University. Tate Lytle from Eastern Oregon University starts in 8th. Anthony Burrows from St. Charles Community College rolls off 9th. And Alex Kalanick from Rockland Community College completes the top 10.
Yeah, we go back there to Will Norton at Kansas University guy. Jose Salas Jr. from the University of Connecticut. Nate Stewart back there representing Hopkinsville Community College with Matt Cox to his outside with William and Mary. Back there in row 8, you got Brett Suggs from High Point University with Jordan Johnson at Kent State University. Row 9, you got Elliott White from Howard Community College and Liam Sheen from, I guess, Howard Community College as well. And then row 10, rounding out that top 20, Mario Miranda from the University of Oklahoma and Wyatt Harvey from Butler University.
Chris Fritz rolls off from 21st. He's out of the University of Delaware. Matthew Andreessen from Iowa State will start in 22nd. Noah Fougere from St. Francis Xavier University begins tonight on the inside of row 12 to his outside. A.J. Green from Guilford Technical Community College. Garrett Vitton from Arizona State University starts in row 13 alongside Jake Cummings from Wingate University. Reese Bayham from Auburn rolls off 27th to his outside. Sean Pellig from the University of Michigan. Your final two drivers in the top 30 this evening: Francisco Villarreal from the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley and Austin Green from Emory-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Yeah, we go all the way back. I believe we're on.
Rolling off in the 31st position is Tyler Davis from Dyersburg State Community College. Taylor Butcher Benjamin to his outside from Penn State Mont Alta. Thomas Clausen from Temple College rolls off on the inside of row 17 to his outside. Anthony Shorak from East Stroudsburg University. Zachary DeWell from St. Clair College and Indy Cassie from Purdue University. Your final two starters: Douglas Newbegin from King's College. Malachi Drake from Western Kentucky University rolling off from the 38th spot. A quick editorial correction: Liam Sheen representing the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point. Good look here at the cars as they get set to roll off onto the surface for the first time this evening. We'll see if we can't bring you our play seat race analysis momentarily to get you set with all the information you need to know before we go racing here at Nashville. Lots of fun we should expect this evening, Terry.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. With 80 laps is what we're going to turn here tonight. 45 miles per hour is pit road. You know, we're expecting 24 to 26 seconds on pit lane, 3 sets of tires, and there should be a pit stop in here between 45 and 48 laps. We'll see it. These tires are hot. This track is hot and slick. We saw a lot of practice incidents out here. This is going to be interesting here.
Quick note, your SCW weather for the evening. It is the default day in sim for iRacing, May 15th, 2022, local time, just after 4:10 Central Daylight Time, I suppose. Air temp 78 degrees Fahrenheit under partly cloudy skies. Track temp 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds to the north at 2 miles an hour and humidity of 56% as we get set for 80 laps. Place seat 100. Seventh race and the final race in 2022 for the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, powered by NACE Starleague. Pace car is off. Green flag unfurled from Barney's hands of the green machine of Garrett Lowe from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Leads us under the flag stand and to the green flag, and we are racing at Nashville. And trouble there from Logan Clampett before we even get the chance to get going. One car hard on the outside wall. Clampett comes down the track. They're all going to check up. We may end up in trouble. More contact there as you get a good look at Clampett's car stuck in the middle of turn 2. But before we can even get going, Terry Ranford, yellow flag as we're half a lap into tonight's 80.
And James, that's actually massive because he was fastest in practice. So if I thought there was anybody that was going to knock Steven Wilson off of the mountain, it would have been him in the 97. I'm very surprised to see that. But going into turn 1, heavier braking than what you'll see in 3 and 4. So no surprise. You get up, you get antsy, you're ready to go. It's like contact happens. We take a look at the replay here.
Replay forthcoming as you'll see the contact from just behind. It was Jack Coyne out of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute that got into him. And Clampett tried to say that he did a heck of a job to just about save the thing. And then, boom, contact there right at the end with another car. So put a damper in Clampett's efforts to try and break up the streak that Steven Wilson's built over the fall.
Yeah, definitely. That'll take you out of contention. I mean, that happens. I mean, you go into turn 1 at this racetrack, it's different. It's a different challenge. You think you go down there, you can carry more speed. This is a very unforgiving racetrack, Pike. The moment you go into turn 1, you have to be slowed down. You have to hold that bottom. There's a lot that goes into Nashville, and most people just think it's a cookie-cutter track. No, it's just far from it.
It's the beauty of this place. It's not quite a mile and a half, as we remind you all that if you haven't taken advantage of it, you still have through tomorrow to take advantage of iRacing's Black Friday sale for 2022. 50% off of all new memberships and 25% off of renewals and reactivations of 1 year or 2 year. Yours truly managed to get the 2 year last week. made sure I am re-upped until 2025 with the way my account is set up. So we're ready to rock and roll. We'll be set till January on my end and ready for a whole 2 years worth of iRacing service. Because Terry, this is the best value. If you're looking for the best bang for your buck in terms of trying to re-up your subscription to iRacing or get a new membership, the Black Friday sale traditionally has been the best time every year to reach into the wallet and make sure you're subscribed or start a new account with iRacing for the upcoming season.
Hey, you take a look over here at the prizes. You talk about getting good deals out of iRacing. Well, how about this? How about the prize pool here? The winner getting $3,500 all the way back to 10th. It's $250. Total value is $60,000, and it's $15,000 per round. What a wonderful thing that we're doing for the college drivers out there. There's a lot of these guys and gals who are going to come back. Some are freshmen and juniors and stuff that are going to come back and hopefully racing this if we do it again next season after the 2023 round.
Worth noting as well that we get the first opportunity to showcase the trophies here for your top 3 drivers in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series powered by NACE Starleague for 2022. So 3 of the best over the course of the fall will be going home with the hardware. We can presume that Steven Wilson is likely going to be one of them. And I guess there are 2 trophies at this point that are up for grabs, Terry.
Well, my daddy always taught me you don't assume anything, but that's a good assumption. But to be real, it makes me want to go enroll in college to 1, walk away with some cash, and 2, walk away with a trophy. And I don't have many trophies to my name.
Just game the system, like I think of Brandon Whedon at Oklahoma State a long while ago, about 10 years ago, who was a starting quarterback at about 25 or 26. If you go to college, you can always jump in and get some opportunities, right? Take advantage of that extra experience.
I think you saw me run enough at a racetrack. I don't think I'm going to run around somebody who's 3 times my size. I'm good.
You did indeed run around at Southern National Motorsports Park, which happens to be featured on the Sim this past weekend. Here's Jack Coynes on board, his perspective of that incident there. That very much had the look to me of a driver that just wasn't necessarily prepared for the checkup in the beginning of the race. You're not used to other drivers' braking points. You're not used to how they're going to enter the corners. So in that sense, I'm not totally surprised that there was some confusion that led to the incident between Coyne and Clampett to put us under the early yellow.
Well, and you also got to think, too, that there's tire saving that's going to get involved in this race. This is not a track that you could just go in there and run as hard as possible. You have to be conservative here. You have to allow the tires to gain a little bit more. As you take a look here, our pit window, we have 3 sets of tires, but 45 to 48 laps. You have to make those tires last all the way to that lap 45 mark. I'm sure Clampett was kind of using some of that skills that he has on the sim to back that car down a little bit, get into 1, and just be as patient as possible with them. But we're going to see, are we going to have that problem again as we go for this restart here?
It's a good question. Is Garrett Lowe, Steven Wilson, James Yelling, Matthew Morton now joins the top 5 as a result of that incident between Coyne and Logan Clampett, and it effectively is just about a full restart. Not quite all the way. We completed 5 laps, but didn't even get the chance to really run that much green flag racing, so we'll try this again as Garrett Lowe will drive underneath the flag stand, under the green flag, out of Barney's hands, and back to the green we go, back to racing we go at Nashville in the Play Seat 100. Lowe, Wilson out in front of the field. 1, 2, 3 cars in line, all single file, and then you have to go back to Will Norton out of Kansas University. Who's your first side-by-side battle, and I guess is there room for a Tennessee reference in there, Terry? I know there's one that you can come up with at least.
They did beat Kansas in basketball, so that's a big win across the board for everybody in Tennessee. But I'm surprised to see people in the outside lane already. All right, we look right here with the 7 of James. Very surprised that everybody's not just content to run that bottom here and allow the cars to get unsettled with the back ends kicking out from the tires. But so far so clean as we got back under green flag racing.
2 questions I immediately have. 1, when will the outside lane come in, if at all? And B, notice that we are under cloud cover. So that will change the track temp ever so slightly. And how will that change the way these cars handle around the virtual Nashville Superspeedway? You would think it will cool the track down, it will increase the grip. These cars should get a little bit tighter, but to what degree? Only the drivers truly know.
Yeah, I think the outside lane will start to peak in when we get some wear on these tires. Once we start to see some lack of grip with the tires, you'll see it. You see back here with Sheen, Suggs, Johnson, and Fritz for the battle for 12th. Back here, you see that the 33 of Suggs is kind of running a little bit of different line than what the 28 is. The 28's right on that yellow line. The 33's about an inch or two up. And then you see the difference of the arcs. Suggs is more straight line into the corner, as if you see Johnson in front of him. He's a little bit more conservative to the bottom. There's a little difference here. We have an onboard shot with a gorgeous wheel from Ken State and Liam Sheen.
Yes, I believe that's actually Jordan Johnson trying to be like the golden flash that adorns his hood and racing with the Formula style rim and VR. Jordan Johnson out of Aurora, Ohio, one of those, I think of Ohio and the great town names we've heard in the race. I don't think anybody who grew up in the 10,000s would forget Sam Hornish out of Defiance, Ohio. Aurora very much in that same bucket for me. But soundproofing on the side, VR, this is a serious setup. Looks like a direct drive wheel as well. So Jordan Johnson definitely ready to race tonight.
Got a caution here on the speedway, James.
Trouble, I believe, in turn 4 is what brings us under the yellow flag. Mario Miranda in big trouble out of the University of Oklahoma, and lots of damage you can see on his car as he comes to pit road. The rest of the field will get bunched up behind the pace car, now working the 11th lap of 80 in this place heat 100.
You know, an interesting story on Miranda. We were talking in the pre-race. He actually raced karts, and I believe he's moving up to Legends. I saw some of the stuff on his social media, and we'll see here with the replay that's about to come up, brought to you by PlaySeat.
So we start here. This is looking at Jake Cummings out of Wingate University in North Carolina, racing just at the front of this pack. You can see contact there with Reese Bayham. Sort of was trying to look underneath the nose of the car in front of him, and Bayham didn't really have anywhere to go. So Cummings slides back up the racetrack, and there's nowhere for Miranda to go. And once he makes contact, it was off into the wall for Miranda's car, and a tough break there. Not really much I think Miranda could have done.
Yeah, and he was just talking about on social media earlier. He commented on my post and said that he hopes he didn't get taken out early. He felt like he had a really good chance to go here, but that was an interesting sequence there. As drivers are coming down pit road already. The first initial waves to take your set of tires. Surprised it's at lap 13, but maybe this gives them an opportunity to come out here and say, you know what? Let's reset. Everybody just take a breath and reset here. Put four new tires on it, and let's roll.
3 sets of tires available to these drivers. As we're going to take one more look at the incident. This is off the front of Reese Bayham's machine. You see the 96 of Cummings looking to the inside and just tried to clear himself when he wasn't totally clear. And then you see the ill-fated rejoin, slides up the racetrack. Miranda had nowhere to go, and the contact with Miranda right there as we look at Stephen Wilson's machine, the driver from Stewart Haas Esports in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series for 2022, part of the Championship 4, had a wonderful season in eNASCAR, and the winner of every single one of the fall races in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series powered by NACE Starleague up until this point. We had Daniel Botafuco win 2 of the 3 in the spring. Wilson trying to go a little bit better and win every single race in the fall if he can take home the checkered flag tonight.
Well, he's going to have to get through Garrett Lowe. The 49's got a good hot rod underneath him, and I'm not saying he can't do it. He wasn't leading for the majority of the first race, and he went up there and got it. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I believe we had some drivers stay out here or take fuel only. This jumped up. Jordan Johnson actually holds the lead. He's gained 15 spots, and Anthony Burrows to his outside is up here in second, and that's pretty intriguing to see how that strategy works.
I just went back to the replay on my end to confirm it that Jordan Johnson actually missed his stall within that last round of pit stops. So he did come down pit road, but he is effectively working on 14-lap-old tires compared to everyone else who came down for either 1 or 2 tires. To that end, worth noting that Anthony Burrows, Jose Solis Jr., and Sean Peleg, along with Thomas Clausen, those 4 all got 2 tires. Everyone else in this field got 4 tires. So a little bit of different tire strategy as we begin to work our way towards the restart of the Display Seat 100, which will occur on lap 15. Johnson is the leader. We will go on board with the University of Iowa's Stephen Wilson as we go back to Green Flag Racing at Nashville. I think there are going to be a lot of drivers that are watching how Jordan Johnson progresses through this green flag run to see whether or not tires are viable or not, as Garrett Lowe immediately drops to the inside, Johnson to the outside, and then Anthony Burrows a little bit further back. You see Matthew Morton and Stephen Wilson racing for position as all the drivers work their way down the front stretch here at Nashville, trying to get into single file as quickly as they can, but not quite having the success, especially throughout the top 20, lots of side-by-side battle.
Yeah, people are starting to get a little antsy. They know track position is going to be very key here. You have no choice but to go be aggressive. It's the 56. He's trying to shoot it 3 wide with the 22, and I believe the 25 right there. And now the 75's in there as they go into turns 3 and 4. We see this 3-wide fight. Not sure how this is going to progress here. As you see a little bit of pushing up. You talked about being tight with the track cooling down. That was an example of it. Now we're starting to see a little blocking. The 28 gets blocked to the bottom, 3 wide again, and that was not a good approach. Oh, hang on to her.
Big slide there from Liam Sheen out of the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point. He almost lost it in the middle of turn 2 as we go on board from Nate Stewart's machine, the Hopkinsville, Kentucky native out of Hopkinsville Community College, who has had some top 10 finishes over the course of the fall season of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. Here's his onboard on the bottom right, a check of the monitor there, looking either at data or perhaps maybe the broadcast. We'll see whether or not we can get a wave out of him. I don't know if he's paying attention enough, but sometimes we've seen it happen. But looks like he's communicating with his team and just trying to get a little bit of data, a little bit of information, passing along the information to just get his car a little bit better as we slide to John Hall, who's a little bit further up the field, currently riding in the 7th position. Hall representing the Massachusetts Maritime Academy. They're originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They're trying to chase down Jordan Johnson for the last spot in the top 5.
Yeah, I thought he had a run right there going into 1, but Johnson shut the door on him pretty quick, so we'll see if he can get around him here. As you see the chaos behind him, I mean, he's got Peleg behind him. He's got 3 wide right behind that. There goes the 7 of James. He jumps to the outside. There's a ton more fighting going on here, a lot more drivers putting it on the line. I mean, I guess we're in Nashville, so you got to burn the honky-tonk down some way.
And treat the whole track like Broadway and trying to get to victory lane to smash your virtual guitar, right?
I mean, that's what I would do.
I like that thought, as you see Jose Solis Jr. Meanwhile, battle for the lead. Stephen Wilson to the inside of Garrett Lowe on lap number 21 to wrest away the top spot. He will almost complete the pass there coming out of turn 4. May well be clear by the time they get to turn 1. Wilson slides up, not quite there yet, but he will drop down to the apron in that yellow line. We'll see if Lowe can pull the crossover. Not enough momentum. A new leader in the Place Suit 100, Stephen Wilson, back out in front of the college series.
That was actually really smart for Garrett Lowe to not ride that outside lane. Don't abuse your tires. Don't abuse your car. Stay with him. Get behind him and stay with him. As you see right here, we have the onboard shot with both of them. A lot of trophies in the back there for Garrett Lowe in second. But you just have to be patient. Be calm. You see the calmness in both of their faces. They're very cool demeanor. Just ride in traffic. You're the fast. Yes, as we get the wave there. You're the fastest two on the racetrack. Like, we get it. You've got both good cars. Don't put yourself in a bad situation just because you know how. We're 23 laps into this thing. Anything can happen in this race.
I think the way that Garrett Lowe immediately just tucked in behind Steven Wilson indicates to me that the very clear and obvious preference for just about this entire field is to be running on that inside line. There's not too much interest throughout this group of drivers to really make the outside work. And you don't see too many drivers in the top 20 really trying to run there. Maybe a few battles side by side, but for the most part, everybody just trying to stay in that one groove. That's where the grip is. That's where the pace is. That's where the speed is. That's where you want to be if you don't want to bleed time and create a gap between you and the driver that's ahead.
Yeah, the outside just it works here if you can make it work. It's something that you really have to practice. You really have to come out here and put a lot of effort and energy in getting to that second groove. But it comes with pinching drivers down to that yellow line. It's going to allow you to make them check up a little bit more here. But these are the best of the best. You know, other than the Coke Series and Contender, these are your drivers. And some of them compete in both. You know, some of them compete in Coke and Contender and then come here. That being said, there's going to be a chance at some point in time in this race that outside lane's really going to start to rip. And, I mean, I tell you who's really ripping is John Hall. He's starting to make some forward momentum up here, and so is Anthony Burrows. He's staying content there in third.
Look a little bit further back here, and each line deeper into the field to go find Austin Green out of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, something out of the Melbourne, Florida drivers camp. I feel like if we're working with Embry-Riddle, then the Lightning should be a shot given how much work they do with aircraft and speed, Lightning. Figured next up we'll see Blue Angels or something from the Navy, so on and so forth. But a good-looking car nonetheless.
Well, I think he's going to school to be a meteorologist, and there's not rain yet places. There's a hurricane on the roof, we're being told. That is a pretty baller paint scheme, though.
So I suppose the idea would be to ride the Lightning to the front of the field.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I get my references in too every once in a while. Also, speaking of good paints and good logos, one for the Metallica fans out there. How about Sean Peleg with the old school University of Michigan Wolverine? You could have done the block M. You could have done the helmet design. I would argue it's a pretty inspired choice to go with a logo that I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, dates back to the 1940s, 1950s, I believe, maybe even earlier than that. But it's not one that you see representing UM often, but certainly is there if you need it. Peleg putting it to very good use right now. He certainly, I think, would love a few more spots here on track, currently running 7th, but no complaints, I think, for Peleg at this point.
Yeah, and I guess you bring out the Michigan paint scheme, you know, when they're undefeated and they beat the Ohio State University Saturday in the Big Ten. So it's good to be a Michigan fan, I guess. You got Kansas on the outside, Michigan on the bottom. A lot of inner promotions from the Big Ten, the Pac-12. There's a shot at the Ohio State Buckeye 13 down there in the bottom as we got Tate Lytle in the 56 down here. That Toyota's ripping the outside lanes, trying to make some hay up here.
I would just like to point out that the Ohio State and Michigan cars are right next to each other on the racetrack, and you all can fill in the rest there. We'll see if they play a little bit nicer than the sports teams do. But Peleg trying to work and get the spot there on Matt Morton, as all of them are trying to get around John Hall, Tate Lytle, everybody in the mix here, and a little bit further back, you've got, well, just everybody racing. I see lots of cars, Eastern Washington represented. There's Logan Clampett trying to race his way from the back after that earlier incident. Scored in the 17th spot after being stuck all the way at the back of the field in 38th out of Trabuco Canyon, California, representing Saddleback College. Logan Clampett trying to make one big recovery run. And if you make it into the top 10, there is scholarship money available. So even if you don't necessarily have a car to win the race, there's still something to go race for if you can get to the top 10 some way, somehow.
And I don't think that damage on the rear of the car is really affecting this. The front got a little bit of a kiss to the wall. But, I mean, create a little bit more downforce with the back end pushed in the way that it is. He might be able to I mean, he's driving through the field. He's up to the 15th position. He just got passed by A.J. Green and James Goley and Brett Suggs. He's actually making a really good lap time as well. So no slouch, a lot of skill, ton of talent out here on the sim, and he's making good use of it. I mean, there's battles galore. I mean, you see side by side behind him. There's people battling up in the front. This is becoming a very racy racetrack, James.
The only people in the same ballpark as far as lap times are concerned last time by were Alex Kalanick, Liam Sheed, and Will Norton, all running 31.5. So even with the lack of track position, by comparison, Logan Clampett still has one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, even with all the damage to the rear of his Chevrolet Camaro. So we'll have to watch for Clampett yet again here. Driver in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series as we get a good look just a little bit further back at Wyatt Harvey and his on board representing Butler Esports, and then Reese Bayham from Auburn University in Alabama. A nod to Butler alumnus and a member of the iRacing production team, Cisco Scaramuza, who got the chance to tour the brand new Butler Esports facility over Thanksgiving. He said that he was very, very impressed with what he saw. It made him proud to be a man who knows a thing or two about a Butler war cry and about a Bluey, you know?
I'm impressed with you knew the reference when it came in our ear to shout it out. We looked at Reese Bayham right there. That doesn't look like a face that's excited about their new coaching hire. Maybe he wanted Cadillac Williams to stay. I don't know. There's a whole lot of drama that went into the Auburn Tigers coaching search. It wasn't worse than Tennessee's 2016 coaching hire debacle, but it was still on the level of pretty crazy.
Was indeed a little bit wild. They ended up with Hugh Freeze as you get a good look off the back of Wyatt Harvey's machine. This is all for right around the 20th position. You've got Brett Suggs and Matthew Andreessen directly behind him, representing the Cyclones of Iowa State University. Bit of a different paint scheme for him as well. Like the, I'm not sure what that is underneath the headlights, but I feel like that's supposed to be a sort of October Folly spooky something there.
I'm not too sure what that is, but
I like it. I'm not sure what it is either, but
it's like its eyes and they're crying or something, like they just, saw me run or something. That's kind of what it looks like. I don't know. Iowa State might have something cool out there. I know they have. They had a big game and they blew it against TCU. We were all cheering for them.
I wasn't going to necessarily go that far, but still, very, very cool to see. It's cool to see, and it's cool to see the way that these paints have evolved over the course of this season. I think this has become part of the eNASCAR community as these drivers have found themselves in multiple races. We've seen the paint schemes evolve over the course of the year, and it's cool to see where we've ended versus where we were with the trucks at Daytona in February. You get a good look here at Anthony Burrows.
Well, they pulled it on camera, and I looked up instantly and was like, he's one of the fastest drivers on this racetrack. He passed Garrett Lowe. He drove past Tate Lytle as well, and he's faster than Steven Wilson. And I know that's a shock to people listening out there. Yes, he's faster than the 10 machine at the moment. He's about a tenth faster than him, and he has been for quite some time. He wasn't running fives or anything. He was very conservative, and now here he sits. And that's he's another 10.
Really cool initiative that we'll take a moment to talk about here while you all watch the Place Seat 100. Xfinity, we talked about them earlier in the season, joining as the 5th premier partner for the fall semester and the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. As part of that initiative, they donated simulators to Bowie State, Delaware State, Texas Southern, and Spelman College. You can see on the right-hand side of your screen, simulators delivered, now available for lots of drivers at all the schools ever to go after it as we get a yellow flag on the racetrack. But really, really cool to see schools sort of get rigs in almost in a sort of study hall sort of setup is the best way I could describe it. And that's an initiative that I would love to see more schools around the country take part in as the time passes on.
Yeah, it's awesome to see what Xfinity did for colleges out there. It's good to have, I talked about this 2 weeks ago when we did Charlotte, diversity in iRacing. Let's get more females. Let's get more people that just need to come in and see what the passion of racing is like. What a great initiative from Xfinity to come out here and do that and to deliver on that promise. And to see the pictures and the results gave me chills sitting there seeing it pull up in the pre-production meeting. It's just so awesome how great this community really is.
You think of what the Drive for Diversity did for NASCAR starting in 2004, and you think about that sort of concept, I think, being applied to sim racing. That I think is sort of what Xfinity is trying to go for, and I'm 100% for it because we've seen what the Real Life program has done. It's given us Daniel Suarez, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, Cup Series champion, amongst others. Hopefully we get more folks like that on the sim racing side as we now take a look at what brought us under our yellow most recently in the Play Seat 100. And unfortunately for Cisco and all the Butler fans out there, trouble for Wyatt Harvey, who I think just got loose and then got help going into turn 3. Not quite sure what had him check up so early there in the corner, and then big trouble there a little bit further back and more contact right in turn 4. Get a look on board here from Taylor Butcher Benjamin's machine and see just how crazy this got right as they came back to the front stretch.
Oh, that was close. Oh, we caught a little bit of the wall there. Man, that's if that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what will. He's just minding his own business, and bam, there he is, and we're on pit road.
Everybody down pit road for service again. Is Garrett Lowe going to be the first out of pit road?
Yes.
So slightly. That was close. That was very close between Lowe and Steven Wilson and Anthony Burrows, but Lowe just beats them all off of pit road to maintain the race lead, and this has been his race up until now. We've crossed the halfway portion of this race. We're now within 40 laps to go, but even though Lowe's led just about the entirety of this race, I won't necessarily say that he is an outright favorite to win the Play Seat 100 because I'm not convinced we haven't seen everything out of the drivers just behind him in this race. The Steven Wilsons, the Anthony Burrows, the Will Nortons, the Tate Lytles. A lot of the drivers that are sitting in the top 5 have been there pretty much since we dropped the green flag.
Yeah, I got to go back to the 62. I got to circle him as not a favorite, but a very heavy hitter. He might be the one that's able to come up here and put a stop to the 10 Machines' dominance so far in the college series. He was consistent. He just wasn't fast on the short run. He was fast on the long run. We're now in that window to make it on fuel. Now it's going to be about if we stay green to the end, who can conserve those tires? Who can be fast and consistent and conservative at the same time? The top 3 is all you got to circle. Because they're all really, really good competitors in the sim. I don't know how we look past that. I mean, they're there.
Well, don't sleep on some of the drivers who have tons of experience in the sim a little bit. But we're going to take a moment now to chat with the driver out of Iowa City, Iowa. Steven Wilson now joins us in the booth. Steven, first 40 laps, has it been just sort of maintaining things to get ready for the end? Do you have a game plan of what you want to do over these final 40 laps?
Yeah, that last run was pretty much we were all tight on fuel, so I spent the whole run clutching into 1 and 3 for a pretty good amount of time. So now that that's not a worry, I think the goal here is just to get the lead, and clean air is big right now, so hopefully I can do that.
How does removing fuel strategy from the equation change the way you approach the end of this race?
I think right here my strategy is going to be to go all out for as much as possible until I get to the lead if I can, and then at that point just sit and keep in mind my gap, and then just make sure to keep it behind me.
And how well has the Coke Series prepared you for battles like this, and especially when you've got that record of 4 in a row that you're trying to go for?
Yeah, the Coke Series really mentally prepares you for all these battles. You just get a lot of experience racing around, especially with a guy like Garrett. I know racing him, well, we probably won't have any contact. Yeah, he races really clean, so it should be a lot of fun.
Stephen Wilson, as experienced as they come in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series and the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. We'll let Stephen get back to things as we are half a lap away from the restart, Terry Radford. So you heard what Stephen said. He's going to try and go all out. Do you expect the rest of the field to be that way, or might there be some folks who try and take a different strategy and different approach to the end of this?
If Stephen Wilson is telling you he's going all out, other people are listening and taking notes. Somebody was in that chat going, hey, that 10 said he's going full to the end. You know Garrett Lowe's going to. Nobody's taking it easy here. It's 35 laps to go when we take this green flag. It's go time.
It is indeed. Big restart there a little bit early in the box from Garrett Lowe as he takes off. We're back to green flag racing. Wilson tucking in behind him, going single file before we even get to the corner, as will Anthony Burrows. First side-by-side battle. You have to drop a little bit further back in the field to Nate Stewart and John Hull, who are door-to-door just behind this group that you see on your screen, as the leaders in the top 5 now are one by one as they come to turn 3.
I'm a little surprised with what Garrett Lowe did right there, going early in the box. If I was him, I would have kind of waited to the very end and pinched the 10 on the outside and let Anthony Burrows kind of get a jump with him. If he would have waited to the end of that and would have stuck him on that outside lane, kind of would have took him out of that competition unless he would have drove it deeper into one and made him use some of those tires that he had. But he tucks in behind him. So far, still good for Garrett Lowe as they come roaring down the back straightaway.
Lots of big moves as you see the field blitz past our cameras right on the apron of the back straightaway. Sean Paling now working to the inside of the 29 machine of Douglas Newbegin. That would be for 14th and the 15th spot. Paling trying to work his way towards the back end of the top 10. Remember, that's the last spot for which scholarship prize money is available. It's $250 to the driver that finishes 10th. That escalates all the way up to $3,500 for the race winner, $15,000 that we will give away to the top 10 to complete the $60,000 that the eNASCAR College iRacing Series is giving away in scholarship money over the course of the fall semester. As Jose Sotos Jr. had a handful and then some of a Husky machine coming out of turn 4. He was very sideways on corner exit.
Yeah, an interesting note on the 75, he's not on his traditional rig. He's somewhere else racing on somebody else's stuff. So he's having to get used to it. As here comes the fight for the lead. Wilson goes down to the bottom of the back straightaway. He looks into 3. And Garrett Lowe, he's fighting hard on that outside. Look at him. He got on the gas quick there.
Just trying to make sure that you don't catch too many bumps. There are a few here in the surface of Nashville Superspeedway, a testament to the millimeter accurate scans of iRacing, that every little bump, every little crack and crevice in the concrete will matter here, as we see Stephen Wilson work to the inside to try and finish off this move once again, just like he did earlier in the place heat 100, and get the lead back from Garrett Lowe after Lowe had a fabulous pit stop. But this time, Lowe providing a little bit more of a fight, but he also got a little bit tight out of the corner. Won't have enough momentum to pull the crossover. It will be Stephen Wilson back to the point here on lap 52. Just around 30 laps to go, as we will now bring in the man who is set to lead the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series broadcast in just a few moments. Blake McCandless, you also will be calling a race here from the virtual Nashville Superspeedway. It's Nashville night on iRacing, and after the College Series, we'll have an audience that's used to the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars. You'll see that in Contender Series 2. But what else should our fans at home be looking for in the race to follow up on our doubleheader?
Well, I think the one thing they're looking for, James, is the simple answer to the question of what the Contender Series is about. Who are going to be the 20 or 21 drivers that are going to be moving up to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series next season? We're in round number 4 of 7 here in this 2022 eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. And I tell you what, James, caution is out right now, but we have a lot to look forward to later on tonight to try and trim down this field.
Do not go anywhere. When we are done, we will send you straight to coverage of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. Is hearing that Nate Stewart is the driver who ended up in trouble out of Hopkinsville Community College in Kentucky. But he is the one that ran into trouble to bring us under the yellow flag with just under 30 laps to go.
He's not the only Kentucky, native that had troubles in Tennessee too. Those Wildcats got whipped up on, and last year in basketball, this year in football. You want a Tennessee reference? We're in the Music City. I'm all for good Tennessee references while we're still virtually in Nashville.
I suppose this is not the place where I reference the fact that my dear grandmother was a UK alumnus, so I do have a soft spot for the Wildcats. But let's take a look at what happened to Nate Wilson and Nate Stewart. And Nate Stewart just got a whole rear bumper of Jose Solis Jr., I think is what happened there. But it's interesting how that's not the first time we've had that happen in Turn 1 in particular. You think about what happened between Jack Coyne and Logan Clampett earlier. That's almost a carbon copy of the incident that opened up this race.
Oh, and Morton had nowhere to go. I mean, this is a self-cleaning racetrack, and he came right back down, and the rest of the field, piles in it. But yeah, you're right. Turn 1 has been the spot on the entry. I thought we'd be looking at the exit of exit of 2 or the exit of 4 to see where the trouble would happen. It's been the entrance to 1 has been the main problem. Drivers kind of taking it easy, kind of relaxing, feeling it out going into the corner, trying to back it down. And just other drivers have different marks, and that time Jose Solis Jr. did it.
Get another look here of what happened between Jose Solis Jr. and Nate Stewart. Right off the flag stand, you see Stewart trying to get to the inside of one machine just ahead of him. And it's almost like he checked up, lost the momentum, and it was the contact that sort of backed him up into Solis a little bit. If he doesn't make contact with the car ahead of him, I don't know if he checks up as much. You're playing hypotheticals to some degree at that point, but it's certainly something to consider that it wasn't a normal line that Stewart took through the middle of the corner because there was traffic ahead of him. Now, bigger thing to note here, as I look at our drivers in the really whole field, as I really take a look and just sort of glance it and take it all in, Garrett Lowe stayed out. Pretty much everybody else in this field came in and got some form of 2 or 4 tires. So Lowe is out on 12-lap old tires. Everybody else behind him came in. However, the first car with 4 tires on the racetrack after that pit stop, Will Norton, who currently is scored in 10th. And we'll get the opportunity to bring in Garrett Lowe. So Garrett, take us through the strategy call. What went behind the decision to stay out there?
We only went like 5 or 6 laps, and I figured, half the field's at least going to stay. I got it wrong, I think. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not in a terrible spot, but obviously I think I'd rather have 4 fresh tires right now.
Is there any scenario you can think of in which you'd try and come down to get tires later, or is this sort of your bed made, you're thinking?
Not bed made yet. It depends on how the rest of the cautions fall. If we get one more, I'm still in it, I think. But we'll just have to see what happens. We got 25 to go, and so far we can't seem to get past 20 laps in the run, so we'll find out.
Garrett Lowe, your race leader for the moment, but on old tires. Will be very intriguing, Terry, to see how this pans out. This is that sort of yellow that's close enough to the end of this race where you have drivers make a few different decisions here, and you effectively have 3 camps. You have Lowe on his own on old tires. You have the 2-tire camp, and then you've got Steven Wilson actually on 4, as well as Will Norton. Little scoring error that just cleared up in front of us now. So Wilson and Norton, your top 2 drivers on 4 tires, and they are in 6th and 10th at the moment, respectively. But the tire strategies will very much shake up this restart. I think we are about to see racing that we haven't really seen a lot of, at least in terms of kind, before.
Yeah, I got to agree with what Garrett Lowe said. Is your bed's not made yet. We could get a caution or 2 that can kind of shake this up a little bit more. It gives him a chance to come down and pit, but it depends on when the cautions fall. If the caution falls right when we take the green flag, we burn a couple laps under the pace car, and he's still in it because it didn't give a little bit of a cycle on these drivers' tires. But if you're Steven Wilson right now, the first car on new tires, outside turn 1, send it and get to the second row.
How does this play out? Low weighted way later in the box to go this time, and so that makes everything stacked up a little bit more behind him. It's not as spread out as they were coming into turn one that last time by. And also worth noting, Logan Clampett has made his way back up right on the edge of the top five after that incident at the very beginning of the race. How much the yellow flags have helped him get back into contention, but it's Lowe, it's Burrows, and company all fighting Liam Sheen. Currently right there with Jose Solis Jr. fighting for the third spot. Sheen will take it off in turn four.
You see Clampett right there on the bottom. He's side by side with Steven Wilson. He's going for that top five position. He actually had it at the line there. You see Wilson stuck to the outside. He's going to look to the outside of the 75 of Solis Jr. Can't make it. Clampett, Wilson still there. Looking back behind it at Peleg. The Heartland, Michigan native in the 17. He's watching this fight here in the 7th place position. You're right. Racing we haven't seen yet.
A lot more side-by-side racing. Drivers trying to take advantage of fresh weather, whether or not it's 2 tires or 4 tires, as Anthony Burrows will make the pass on Garrett Lowe to go to the point. The 2 fresh tires for Burrows working out in his favor, and Lowe will now have to hold off the rest of the field as Sheen is still fighting there with Jose Solis Jr. for the 3rd spot.
Yeah, 2 are better than none. And I would be a little bit nervous right here if I was the field with Anthony Burrows taking this lead. He was very fast on the long run. He was decent on the short run. He wasn't able to make a whole lot of passes on 4 fresh tires, but as the run progressed, he got faster. What's this going to do? 5, 6 laps on his rights, lefts, just got changed. So our rights just got changed, lefts got a little bit on it. But we're going to see Steven Wilson's up to 4th. Now drivers are having to play defense more than they've played all race long as the 28. He protected the bottom there on the 10.
Haven't really seen the 4-tire drivers really get the most out of it just yet. Maybe that changes if we get a longer green flag run. But Will Norton restarted 10th. He's only up to 8th. Steven Wilson restarted 6th. He's only up to 4th. They've only gained 2 spots a person. They may come into their favor more as the tires wear down. But so far, not much going. As you see, battles a little bit further back in the pack. This is right around P20. And oh, that was close there with Reese Bayham on the right-hand side of your screen.
Yeah, there's a lot more blocking starting to happen, a lot more forcing drivers to go to that outside lane, to kind of switch up how everybody's doing it. Liam Sheen on the left box over here, he's fighting Steven Wilson. He had blocked him for 3 straight laps and made him take the outside, and then also made him switch back down to the bottom. You look back here with the 19 machine, that's Elliott White. He was getting blocked all the way down to the racetrack to where he couldn't enter one the way he wanted. And then there's literally action everywhere on this racetrack right now, and this is what people came to see.
It's going to be tight and testy amongst the drivers up front. You see some good fights a little bit further back, but eyes here on Steven Wilson, who's managed to make it to 3rd. He's cleared Liam Sheen. It's now after Garrett Lowe that Wilson is seeking, is hunting for positions and trying to maintain the streak that he's had all fall long. One more win to sweep the fall season, but he's got 2 very stout drivers with Coke Series experience and Garrett Lowe and Anthony Burrows that he's going to have to find a way around over the next 18 laps to get back to the front. Here comes Wilson to the inside of Garrett Lowe for 2nd.
He's going to get this spot pretty easily as they come down the front stretch going into turn number 1. You'll see he'll just arc it right down to the corner. Garrett Lowe, he's just content to let him go by here, settle back into 3rd, just ride, manage what you can manage. You don't need to fight him on the outside and tear him up more than you already have. Just get there. But interesting here is that even when Steven Wilson was battling with Garrett Lowe right there, he was still faster than Anthony Burrows. It was only a 10th, or a little less than a 10th, but still a 10th, mind you. So we'll see how quick it takes him to catch him. But I think maybe Anthony is saving just a little bit, kind of, play with the 0.6 of a second lead he has at the moment.
All eyes on timing and scoring. Last time by, Wilson was yet again a 10th faster than Anthony Burrows. The gap is now just under 0.6 of a second as we go to Francisco Villarreal of Islaco, Texas, driving for University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Good shot of his machine as he comes down the front stretch.
He's got the 48 right in front of him, AJ Green. A little bit of damage on the 48 of AJ's machine, but flirting right there with that top 10 to get some tuition money. We just got to get one more spot to walk away with some cash.
Right on the edge of the opportunity to get $250. Here comes Will Norton trying to get to the inside of Sean Peleg out of Kansas University, the Lawrence, Kansas native, making some tracks, but not quite what he wanted to with the fresh rubber. He's only up to 8th as Wilson has managed to find his way around the competition and pick off drivers one by one. Norton hasn't necessarily had the space just yet to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, you see him sawing at the wheel. This is what Nashville provides. It's a bigger Dover, much bigger Dover Speedway. And you just see it right here. As you see Tate Lytle back here, he's fighting for dear life. In the ninth place position, he's trying to stay in front of the 48 of A.J. Green to stay in a little bit more tuition money. Not a big difference between 9th and 10th, but it's a difference, some would say.
Not a difference. You double your money. Come on now, Terry. I like
Listen.
double money more than I like not double money.
Well, you're going to fight it here as you look at Taylor Butcher Benjamin back here, an old Pennsylvania native in the 8th.
It's out on Pennsylvania Racing for one of the many chapters of the Pennsylvania State University. They've got satellite campuses all over the place. It's Taylor Butcher Benjamin racing for Penn State Mont Alto, Pennsylvania. Anthony Schobrak out of Effort, Pennsylvania, racing for East Stroudsburg University as he works his way through 1 and 2. Schobrak currently running in the 18th position.
Gorgeous shot we got right here. Seeing Bayham, seeing the Iowa State drivers back here. And you see that line that's right there. Look how loose these drivers are. They're really having to fight this thing. And this is what you can look forward to for Contender here in a little bit, because those drivers are really, they have a lot to fight for over there in our next race. You see Chris Fitz. Look at the tree back there all lit up and the VR headset.
VR, Christmas tree, he's ready to go for the holiday season and would like to try and bring a little bit of scholarship money. But the problem is that he is racing in the 30th spot.
Take a look at Alex Kalanick right here. Chestnut Ridge, New York, and the 22 machine. And interesting here, Chestnut Ridge, Christmas time, Black Friday deals, all wrapped in one.
You make a good point. Probably not a bad time. As I need to remind everyone that you can get 50% off of the new memberships and 25% off of renewals if you go head to iRacing.com/Black Friday. That active now through midnight tomorrow, December 1st. You've got the opportunity to take advantage of one of the best deals of the year, as you see that the gap between Burrows and Wilson is down from 0.6 of a second to 0.1 of a second with 10 laps to go. How much does clean air matter? What kind of opportunities will Anthony Burrows have to block Wilson? What kind of opportunities will Wilson have to get alongside Burrows, make this pass for the lead, and try and go 4 for 4 and sweep the fall season?
He might be able to go 4 for 4 like a great deal at Wendy's, but Anthony Burrows and him are running exact same lap times. I mean, they come across the line right here. It was a 31.377, 31.386. If that's not close quarters racing, then I don't know what I'm doing up here with a headset on, because these two tires, 4 tires, are making everything work. And I think I was right when I said that Anthony Burrows was saving just a little bit in the tank and then starting to put it on him here, because Wilson had a lot more drive in there as the caution comes out, and that changes everything.
It will not matter. Trouble out of turn 4 and turn 1. A few different incidents, I believe, on the racetrack. Garrett Vinton out of Arizona State University in trouble. And I also saw an incident coming out of turn 4 that had about 3 or 4 cars as well. So I believe maybe 2 simultaneous incidents that bring out the yellow flag with 7 laps to go. Oh, how I would not want to be Anthony Burrows right now to make this strategy call.
I think you got to pit. I mean, that's my strategy call. Is I'm coming down pit road, I'm taking 4 fresh tires, and I'm heads up racing everybody else. And yeah, here they all come. I mean, I don't see anybody staying out on this racetrack because you're a sitting duck, and that was a big checkup right there on pit road with the 62 of Burrows and the 10 of Steven Wilson. That almost made contact there, and that could have changed the outcome drastically in this race.
Oh, what a big call from Will Norton, who has stayed out on the old tires. So he'll be the leader, I would presume, once we get back to it. The question will be who joins him on the outside of the front row by winning this race off of pit road. The answer, I believe, is going to be Steven Wilson, who gets the biggest stop of the night when it mattered the most. Wilson wins the battle off of pit road. He'll start alongside Will Norton on the front row of the Place Heat 100. So we go back to take a look at what happened to bring us under the yellow flag. This, I believe, will be the Garrett Vitten incident. Yeah, a little contact there on the back straightaway. Trouble there. Matthew. Yeah, big trouble for Matthew Andreessen, and then looked like the contact sort of knocked everybody a little bit further back sideways, and I saw Vitten goes down off the racing surface just out of the corner of the camera, but that's what originally started it on the back. That's officially the incident that brought out the yellow. However, worth noting that Will Norton got into it with Sean Peleg and Logan Clampett and a few others as well out of turn 4. So there is also damage on the front end of Norton's car on the left-hand side, and he went for a bit of a slide. So the tires are going to be a little bit more worn as well. And even though he came down pit road at the same time Steven Wilson on the last yellow, his tires should be a little bit more worn out than what you'd find compared to anyone else who would have stayed out with just running 20 laps because he went for that slide in turn 4.
Yeah, then things should be hollering like a goat in a pasture. I'm surprised to see that he stayed out after all that. I would have imagined you come down pit road, you fix a little bit of that damage right there, but hey, you're going to have 3 laps to go when we take this green flag. Still finish in the top 10, get a little bit of money, maybe pray for a little issue there. Is we're going to have a replay here of Garrett Lowe come across and show the fans the Place Heat 100 machine. And here we go.
This is the other incident that we were referring to here with Norton and Garrett Lowe there, and that's the slide that Lowe went for and the contact with Logan Clampett that I mentioned just a little bit ago. That's the one that I think was going to carry a little bit more weight just in terms of the context of what we're looking at here with the front of the field, where yes, Norton has great track position, but old tires and went for a slide. And Garrett Lowe, same thing, though Lowe was able to come down and get 2 tires. So Norton on the old rubber, he's going to have to make the rear of that Kansas University Toyota Supra as wide as he can get in order to be okay.
He's going to have to do something. I'm not too sure if maybe he's singing a little Billy Ray Cyrus in there. I would hope he's got a little Murder on Music Row with Alan Jackson and George Strait, because the 28 is going to come in there like a bull in a china shop. At least he should. If you stay right behind the 25 of Will Norton after that slide, after having laps on the tires, you might want to kiss your chances winning this race goodbye, because he's gonna stack this field up into 1. He's gonna have to set it down there to the bottom, send it into 1, and hope that the 25 moves up the racetrack to get the 10 up into that 3rd lane.
If we're playing that game, Terry, there is one song that applies for Will Norton in this situation, and anybody else at the front too. It is time to pull off a very big boot scooting boogie to get away from this field and get to the front, because you've got now 4 coming to 3 laps to go in the Place Heat 100, and it is going to be nothing short of hectic. Will Norton on old tires, 20 laps older than the rest of the field in front. Steven Wilson on 2 tires made it up to the front, and for what it's worth, Tate Light on 10th, the first driver on 4, as Norton goes early in the box. Green flag, back out the Place Heat 100. It was not a good restart for Liam Sheen. Wilson immediately gets down to the bottom, and it'll be Steven Wilson to give chase after Will Norton as they go to 1 and 2.
Yeah, and you're right. Heel toe, do-si-do. Come on, baby. Let's go boot scooting in Nashville. As the 10 gets a good jump there. He's getting a massive launch off the exit of 2 down the back straightaway, side by side for the race lead. Sheen's going to have to come in here and make that work. Burrows is stuck to that outside lane behind Will Norton in the 25. And it's Steven Wilson running away out of 4 here with 2 to go.
Will Norton got tight, and it wasn't even close. Steven Wilson blitzed past him as the yellow flag comes out for a big incident on the front straightaway just off camera, as we will go green-white checker. And Will Norton, I would almost argue, might want to even think about pitting at this point, because he got just ditched. He had nothing to to stay on the apron, and Steven Wilson blitzed past him like he was standing still after, I guess, one of the Broadway bar adventures, I suppose, that will be forthcoming. But yeah, that was a big move there from Steven Wilson to go get the race lead and be in control of this once we get the green flag for the restart, which will come here momentarily. Replay coming your way, Terry Radford.
Maybe take a look here at the 29 machine. You see Reese to the bottom. Oh, a little bit sideways there, a little swirling around. Oh, the 19 trying to come behind the 1, and the 29 goes up and over. Everybody has to juke and drive to miss that one. Oh, not clear, not clear.
Douglas Newbigging, the driver that went upside down. Have you ever seen anyone flip real life or virtually in Nashville, Terry?
No, I think that's the...
Like that very much goes into the Carl Long at Rockingham or Joey Logano at Dover sort of ballpark of flips at places where you wouldn't normally expect to see a car upside down.
Well, I mean, that was just the perfect hit. Once you get caught right there in that fender, it's game over there, because I mean you're at some decent speeds here. You're up there when it comes to the mile per hour spot here. But this restart is going to be what everybody wants. I mean, this is what everybody expects. 2 tires right here, the first 3, and then Will Norton still sitting there in 4th. He actually got sort of saved by that caution, while he did get dumped from the lead up to the outside to move back a little bit. He's still in good position here, James.
Steven Wilson is your race leader here. We will have 2 laps to go off the green-white checker, no matter what happens. So if we need to extend the yellow by a few laps to get a few more laps in, we will. Currently scored on lap 81 of the scheduled distance of the 80, so we are stretching a little bit. However, everybody came down for fuel and tires, so not really much of a concern. This is more, what sort of tires do you have underneath you, and what sort of car do you have to try and get to the front? And if you're Will Norton, can you hang on to a spot in the top 10 and come away with at least $250 of scholarship money? That's his game plan. That might be one of the more entertaining battles to watch within all of this. With the old tires, it's going to be tricky, but for someone that has so much experience in the sim, if there's a driver that can pull it off, Will Norton absolutely has the talent and the skill to maintain a place in the top 10 to get the scholarship money.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent in this series. Hands down, I think it's one of the most talented series that we get to call. I like that we're looking at the 62 of Burrows, because he could be the X factor here. He could be the Derrick Henry. Since we're in Nashville, break out the Titans reference here. He could be the game changer. He could break that 99-yard run at any point in time that you need him to. Can he make that on Steven Wilson? Like, I think that's going to be the biggest answer that we're going to get, or the biggest question we're going to get answered here in a second, is can he get to the back bumper and move him just a little bit without touching him? Just get the air off of him and move him just a tad bit up the racetrack.
And can Liam Sheen do a little bit better job on the restarts? The University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point driver did not go well on the most recent restart before this one. He'll have one more crack to try and time it a little bit better, but there was a significant gap that Will Norton left on Liam Sheen when we went green flag last time around. He will have to do better this time if he wants any shot of trying to keep Steven Wilson at bay.
You know what question we don't need answered?
Shoot.
iRacing's amazing Black Friday deals. 50% off new members and 25% off renewals. I've told everybody the past 2 weeks at Florence and Southern National, if you're not on iRacing, get on iRacing. You see the screen right there through December 1st. It's almost over. 50% off all new memberships and 25% off renewals and reactivations of 12 and 24 months. It is the most wonderful time of the year. Get on iRacing and stay on iRacing.
You know what else we haven't talked about tonight, which I feel like we should before we go green flag racing? The fact that you've got a brand new DLC pack for the World of Outlaws dirt racing game that was developed by iRacing and Monster Games. That's available now for the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X and Series S, the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Really, really fun game that. It is available now through either physical copies and the digital stores, you can definitely catch that and have a good time. I thoroughly have enjoyed my time playing that game on consoles. When we're not calling the finish of the Play Seat 100, this is all about Steven Wilson. Can he complete the clean sweep of the fall? Liam Sheen, Anthony Burrows, Will Norton, Garrett Lowe trying to change the script and steal away one from Wilson, who has not been beaten all semester long. And the eNASCAR College iRacing Series waits to go right at the edge of the box and takes off. We are underway. 2 laps to go here in the Play Seat 100 at Nashville.
What a restart right there by Steven Wilson. He bottlenecked him just a tad bit, made him think, am I going to go? You saw Burrows, you saw the 49 of Garrett Lowe. They all got nose to tail right there. And then Steven Wilson says, haha, nope, gone. Burrows gets around Sheen. Lowe's looking to the inside here. This is the battle going on for who's going to be your top 3 podium finishers. Steven Wilson, he's starting to check out here now.
White flag for Steven Wilson. 1 lap to go in the Play Seat 100. They continue to fight further behind him, but it's Wilson, Burrows, Sheen as they head off into 1 and 2 for the last time.
Yeah, Wilson's hugging the bottom lane here, trying to keep Anthony Burrows at bay, keep that air on his nose, not let him roll up here. Down the back straightaway for the final time.
Steven Wilson, 3 wins to his name in the fall of 2022, and he will cross the start-finish line and become the invincible and untouchable in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series in the fall semester season. He wins every single race and finishes off the 4-race sweep with victory in the Play Seat 100. And you can bring the brooms out in Iowa City. The Iowa Hawkeye has won every single race in the fall semester. A tremendous campaign for the driver out of the University of Iowa.
Now that right there is how you boot, scoot, and boogie and give everybody else in the field that achy, breaky heart. 4 wins in a row in the eNASCAR College Series. What an incredible drive.
As you take a look at tonight's Coca-Cola winning moment, which is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. How about Steven Wilson getting it done for the University of Iowa and winning every single race, 4 for 4, and over the course of the fall semester, he has managed to bring home, I believe, if my math serves me correctly, $14,000 over the course of the fall semester. So, Steven Wilson, your winner here at Nashville in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, powered by NACE Starleague. Play Seat 100, we now turn it over to Blake McCandless and Taylor Burrows.
Thank you very much, James Pike, and everybody welcome in to a place you're very familiar with tonight, the Nashville Superspeedway, for round number 4 of 7 of the 2022 eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. Cars have qualified, and Parker White takes the pole and will get us set under the green flag, and we are set to go for an additional 100 laps here at the Music City Nashville Superspeedway, and they are off and running, but of course we also have to catch up with our winner that just took home some very valuable money as well, and he's done that a number of times here in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. That is Steven Wilson.
We're keeping on top of the action here going on, though, while we get Steven ready to go for our interview. But Parker White has already checked out on the field here by about a couple of car lengths over the battle between Joey Brown, who was your winner over at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Derek Justice battling with him to the inside as they head down the backstretch.
And Parker White, a driver who has been awfully impressive here to start this eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. Joey Brown right behind him won the previous round at Homestead Miami about 3 weeks ago. 2 races ago was Joey Brown taking down that victory. Didn't fare so well at Auto Club last time out. Got a 21st place finish there, but is well on his way to potentially transferring into the Coke Series next season. And Derek Justice right behind him. Remember, he started 3rd last week. Had an issue on the start, did not take the grid, and unfortunately was relegated to not a very good finish last week. Was down outside of the top 20 and will likely be in drop week territory for that Baskin-Robbins Toyota. But Steven Wilson, here we finally got you now, and it's been a pretty solid running for you here in this college iRacing series. Another win for you here at Nashville Superspeedway. Just talk about how it's been this entire season, being able to compete and win as much money to go towards a scholarship as possible. I'm sure it's been great for you.
Oh yeah, it's really cool, Blake. It's good to talk to you again too. So it's been a good season. Obviously, going 4 wins for 4 in this 4 races in the semester is obviously a really cool thing. And just looking forward to. I'm loading into the Contender Series race right now. I'm gonna hop on Colin Bowden's box and hope we can make some moves. I hear we did not qualify so great, but gonna look forward to see who runs good in this race. And yeah, hopefully my guys can get up front.
Well, Stephen Wilson, a very busy driver. We'll let you go ahead and get right to the duties, Stephen. Congratulations, and I guess good luck for these 100 laps as well.
Thank you.
Stephen Wilson, your winner in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series here at Nashville Superspeedway. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, Taylor, moving forward here to the Contender Series tonight. A little bit of a different format that we have here tonight. 100 laps, not quite the 80 that we ran a little bit earlier on in the night with James Pike and Terry Radford on the call, but not going to change too much of what we see. A lot of drivers fighting for the bottom in these NASCAR Xfinity Series cars.
It certainly is, Blake, and these drivers are trying to find their ways to stick to that bottom of the racetrack. They may try to work their way up the racetrack as the run progresses, but for the most part during these early stages when the tires are fresh, this is going to be the time where they're going to utilize that bottom lane to the best of their ability as we are riding on board, I believe, with Taylor Hurst in his machine as he's trying to work his way up to the field, trying to keep inside the top 10.
That is Taylor Hurst right now, who is not faring as well as he would have liked. 34th right now on the Contender Series rundown. And at least at this point in the season, we are including the drop in that. So these drivers, 7 races, you drop your lowest race. We're far enough in, about halfway through, exactly at the halfway point, as a matter of fact, of this Contender Series schedule. You see right there, Seth DeMerchant right now currently sitting in 19th in the standings. Top 20 advanced, Taylor, although we, of course, know that Blake Reynolds, Coke Series driver last year, has elected to retire, and he was in the top 20 in the standings. So right now, only 19 drivers sit with a Coke Series license. So you imagine we're going to take 21 from this series. So DeMerchant right about 3 points above that cut line right now. That would include Andrew Navarro in 20th and Brandon McKissick tied in 21st for Derek Justice into this race, but don't say they can't do 3 wide here at Nashville Superspeedway. Vicente Salas on the bottom, who won the pole last week and got a black flag on the start, trying to recover here.
Yeah, he needs to try to find a little bit of ways to recover. Didn't have a really good week last time out over at the SCUSA Supernats for him as well. So he's trying to find a little bit of bounce back in his recovery to try to see what he can do to guarantee his chances to returning to the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. He will now try to utilize that outside lane to get around Seth DeMerchant as we ride on board with him, a little bit battling for the 28th position.
That's Tucker Minter following a little further back. It's been a good run for him so far, currently sitting 3rd in the standings, a whopping 28 points above that 21st place cut line. Not going as good for him this week, though, sitting back in 33rd. You saw Casey Tucker go by him, another driver that has a little bit of Coke Series experience, and that's something, Taylor, when looking, and we may have trouble up the road. Vicente Salas and Seth DeMerchant looks like they got together just in front of where Tucker Minter was running. We'll see if there's any damage for those drivers. No caution yet, but definitely the right front fender is caved in on that 57 Logitech Altus Esports machine.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of difficulty with the aerodynamics of those Xfinity cars, as well as affect the handling here at this circuit as we catch up to our top 3 right now. Derek Justice, I have to say, has been a surprising factor here so far as we watch Joey Brown in 2nd place trying to hunt down your race leader, Parker White.
Derek Justice has found his way with these Xfinity cars the last several years. Obviously has not had the Coke Series seasons that he would have liked, finishing in the bottom 5 in the standings in each of the last 2 seasons in that series. But when it comes to these Xfinity cars, Derek Justice just flips a switch and is able to figure it out. And particularly in qualifying here, Taylor, we know these races a little bit shorter than what we had last year, but Derek Justice has been a beneficiary of great starting positions, 2nd at home state, Homestead, third last week at Auto Club despite the grid issue, and even started third tonight. And you talk to any driver, that's as important as anything. As we'll take a look one more time at what happened between Seth DeMerchant and Vicente Salas.
There you see him get the nose chopped on him by the 66. There's the contact right there as they were entering in the corner, and the cars just got a little bit too loose as he was entering after that prior contact. That sent Vicente Salas up the top of the racetrack and into the wall. So definitely not wanting to have happen here this early on in the race, but he still has time to make some adjustments here. Of course, with a pit stop window around 56 to 60 laps here, it's going to be critical to make sure that he can take care of his tires for quite a bit of time.
Now, 56 to 60, that's if you're running the normal pace. If you're running like me last year because you're so slow and you have nothing else to really fight for, I think I went about 70 laps last year. But again, you look at that race length, just 100 laps. There's really not a whole lot you can do with that unless we get a caution here in about the next 10 or 15 laps or so. It'd be interesting to see how fuel mileage could play out. But you can save a lot of fuel at this racetrack. A lot of off-throttle time in these NASCAR Xfinity Series cars, but pretty straightforward here. You're going to have to come down and pit at some point, and whether you want to short pit it or stay out and maybe catch a yellow, that's about all you have as far as strategy is concerned. As we continue to ride right here with Joey Brown trying to chase down Parker White, who's been just cruising right now in the race lead.
He certainly has. These drivers really have stretched their race lead out by over about 0.6 of a second to fourth place driver Alan Bowes. So they're just biding their time. Of course, they don't want to use up their tires here this early on. They do have an additional 3 sets of tires to use in the race, but you don't want to utilize it too much here at this circuit. It's so critical to take care of your equipment, especially in these early stages. We'll really see who are some of the movers and shakers as we progress further in this run.
Who can start to rise to the top, and this is often how it works in this Contender Series, Taylor. As you look at the top 10 running order and you see names that are already towards the front of the standings. I know that sounds cliche, but especially with these short seasons in these Xfinity cars, if you're looking at the top 10 right now, every single driver who is in the top 10 right now, aside from Taylor Hurst, is on their way and above that 21st place threshold that these drivers are aiming for. So it just tends to be the fact that if you're comfortable with these Xfinity cars, you really tend to shine. And right now, that's the case up the road for sure.
Talking to a lot of these drivers here through the Contender Series, they really prefer and love how the Xfinity car has been able to drive here. They appreciate and really can understand how incredible the driver's input is really needed in order to race these Xfinity cars compared to what we see in the trucks or even in the NASCAR Next Gen car. So it really is great to see some great hard racing action in these Xfinity cars here as we still see and keep an eye 20 laps in the books.
They continue to ride along right now. 20 circuits down already here quickly at the Nashville Superspeedway as we're going to ride on board here with Ray Alfala. And I think this is one of the biggest stories looking at this Contender Series as we continue to go along. Taylor is chronicling the struggles of Ray Alfala as he nearly gets into the wall off of turn 4. Got a little bit loose and shoved up the racetrack. But Ray Alfala right now, it has not been a Contender Series to write home about. He was the champion of this series in 2019, one of the last times that he's been relegated to this series, but unfortunately it has just not gone his way. He is 16 points beneath the cut line as it stands right now and is running in the 33rd position. Taylor, he's not doing himself a lot of favors, and it's starting to look like we may see a Coke Series in 2023 potentially without Ray Alfala. It's hard to imagine.
It really is, but it just shows you, Blake, how incredible the talent and list of drivers is continuing to grow and grow year after year. As we watch the battle for 19th between Doucette, Falkingham, Budafuco, who is a surprise to be running towards the back half of the field, and Kevin King, who is trying to make a return here. As we have trouble, the 7 of Blade Witt gets loose.
Oh, and that is not going to bring out a caution as Blade Witt gets out of sorts. Tucker Minter was kind of right in the middle of that once again, and that was 3 wide and perhaps a little bit of an issue there. I think Tyler Gary was 3 wide with Blade Witt. Blade Witt gets tagged. Dylan Alt gets some damage out of it. But again, no caution flag out of that incident.
Really great. We'll take a look at that here, but some great heads-up driving by everyone to not bring out the caution as the 26 machine. 3 wide right there with Brian Mercurio. And there's the contact. Around they go. 69 calling back. Ooh, some more contact with the 42 of Dylan Alt. And then Blade Witt trying to avoid a penalty by not going down pit road at this time.
I think Malik Ray got some more of it. I think Tucker Minter may have a problem that he will have to pit for. I think he got a little bit of nose damage, and he is calling out that he is going to have to come to pit road. The tape too high on his number 10 machine, so he is the lone driver that's really going to have to suffer for this as he will head down to the pit lane, and Tucker Minter an unscheduled pit stop to try and fix that machine. Meanwhile, up front, change for the race lead. Joey Brown has found himself at the point here at Nashville.
Quarter of the way through and already a pass for the race lead after a beautiful pass that Joey Brown was able to complete heading off into turns 1 and 2. But Parker White's going to try to see what he can do as there we see Tucker Minter exiting off of pit road.
And Minter having to take a stop again to what I'm sure is having to pull tape off the nose of that car, Taylor. These drivers, and even setting them up last year, you have to run right on the edge of what this car can handle. There's so little downforce, you have to get as much as possible running as high a tape. So if you get any damage right here, we'll take a look and see how he gets it. It's going to affect you, and boy, that's a decent shot for both he and Dylan Alt.
It really is. That's going to be a lot of significant damage to the nose of that Chevrolet. So, smart move for him to come down pit road. But, of course, he's going to have to find a way to hopefully get a caution to try to find his way to get back onto the lead lap.
See if he can do it as Joey Brown leads the way. You have Parker White in second, Derek Justice running in the third spot. A little bit further back behind this battle is Caden Honeycutt, which we'll give a nod to him. Ran third this weekend at Southern National Motorsports Park in the Solid Rock Carriers Thanksgiving Classic there. He had a great run trying to run down. He got beat by a guy named Josh Berry, who, one, has been great in this series, and two, has been pretty great in real life as well. So no shame right there in running third as we see the 66 right here entering turn 1. That's Christopher Pfeffer right on the outside of Casey Tucker. You see that pass right there, number 12 able to go on by of Jonathan Dulaney.
Yeah, Jonathan Delaney picking up a couple of wins in the qualifying series earlier in the year as the two legacy drivers will battle as we pick up the battle for the 10th position between Jordy Lopez Jr. and Taylor Hurst. Lopez Jr. going down to the inside will complete the pass. Brendan Collier tries to follow suit with Michael Cozy Jr. in the mix. 4 cars battling for that top 10th position.
And a number of Logitech Altus Esports machines right around that 10th position as Lopez able to make the pass. You see they're side-by-side behind between Taylor Hurst, who's up there on the top, and Brendan Kohler down on the bottom. You have Michael Cozy Jr., and then 2 spots back, another Altus machine, and James Winsel right now, who is last in the standings, 37 beneath the cut line. But aside from, I guess, Tucker Minter and, some early troubles for Seth the Merchant, not a bad day for this Logitech Altus Esports group. But, of course, it's easy to say, Taylor, when you have about 8 or 9 cars out there on the racetrack.
Other than maybe the Legacy Esports team, this team here, the Altus Esports group, is definitely one of the largest teams that have made their entrance into the Contender Series, as well as in the qualifying series. They put a lot of stake in here with a lot of big names coming to compete for this run.
Certainly so, and if you want to maybe find a way to be in this series in 2023, well, guess what? You have to have an iRacing membership to do that. 50% off all new memberships for Black Friday runs out at the end of this week. So make sure if you are new to iRacing or you don't have it, there is no better time to get it than right now. 50% off of all new memberships, and actually, Taylor, I took advantage of the 25% off with a renewal just about a week ago. So I was was able to do that as well, so make sure you take advantage of that. That runs out at the end of this week, so don't wait any longer to get these Black Friday deals for your iRacing subscription. And of course, if you want all the latest updates on all that's going on in the eNASCAR world, any new series that's popping up like the College iRacing Series and much more on real and virtual events, you can scan the QR code on your screen and learn more about all that is going on in the iRacing and the eNASCAR world. And while we were talking about that, you saw Michael Cozy Jr. just got his way in the 11th spot as he passes Brendan Kohler.
Beautiful pass right there, and just to touch on the point, I did the same thing myself. Blake was renewing my membership, so we're both all set, ready to go for a little bit of time here on the iRacing world. But great battling here, 3 wide almost, a little further back as Brian Pratt is trying to work his way up through the field here as we keep an eye on Brendan Collier. Have a little bit of a quiet season, has been in contention for a couple of good top 10s throughout the Contender Series, but has yet made that breakthrough. Has a couple of good runs also in the qualifying series as we ride on board with Derek Justice.
And Derek Justice showing a lot of long-run pace right now. You see Parker White, who had led this race, has lost a little bit of time to Joey Brown, who's enjoying all that clean air right now at the front of the field. And Justice perhaps reeling in the young gun who has really taken this series by storm. It's not often you see a whole lot of drivers that are able to run at the level that Parker White is running, Taylor. Of the 40 drivers that entered this Contender Series, 19 of them have Coke Series experience. 12 of those are in the top 20 right now as it speaks. So it's not often you see somebody who is brand new to this level of competition really thrive.
It really is. You can really see a lot of the new talent as well as some of the returning talent who's coming their way through the field here as we pick up the number 4 of Jody Lopez Jr. holding on to that 9th position. Andrew Navarro keeping up pace as well as they keep through, rounding out your top 10 as he is a little bit of an Altus Esports sandwich trying to hold off the number 99 of Michael Cozy Jr.
But Cozy looking awfully sporty right now, trying to get by Andrew Navarro directly in front of him. And, you know, this would be a great run for old WinVow 8820. Michael Cozy Jr. right now, 16 points beneath the cut line in 32nd. He could use a top 10 pretty desperately at this point to try and keep himself in contention. And speaking of points, why don't we look at some of these points, Taylor? Because this is what matters, right? The top 20, you assume it might be 21 with Blake Reynolds retiring, and it may be 21 that we take, but right now that cut line so close. You can look at all these drivers who are just above it. Again, this isn't live. This is coming into this race, so a lot left to settle and a lot of change right here, but you can look at these drivers who are beneath the cut line trying to make their way up.
Yeah, and like you said, with the retirement of Blake Reynolds coming in, of course, Derek Justice, Brandon McKissick tied for that coveted 21st position. So it's going to be even more exciting as the rest of the championship or this Contender Series continues on here, as we see Derek Justice trying to poke and prod his way into the 2nd position. He's running very fast lap times compared to Parker White here as he's trying to find that opening to get to the inside.
Trying to find a way around. It's pretty simple. You got to get to the bottom of the racetrack, but it's a lot simpler said than done. But the two North Force Racing teammates look to be helping each other out a little bit here as Derek Justice will make his way by Parker White. And you may not be able to see it because we're in iRacing, but I'm sure a little virtual hand wave out the window here for Derek Justice. And I'm starting to hear, Taylor, that we may be on the verge of green flag pit stops. One driver is moving off the apron right now, and that is Casey Tucker here on lap 38. So when we talked about short pitting, when we talked about going long, Casey Tucker taking the opposite end of that. He's going to try to short pit and make up some time there. So Casey Tucker, I would say the first scheduled pit stop of the night.
Really interesting strategy call here. So he can really make it to the end on fuel if he decides to come down pit road here within the next lap or two. But the problem is going to be those tires. Can he make those laps of tires make it the entire 60 laps if he chooses to come down next time by, as we pick up the 53 machine who is of Brandon McKissick, who is one of those drivers on the edge of trying to get his way into the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
He is right now in that 21st position, so what you think may be the last driver invited. Remember, 21 drivers got invited last year. Malik Ray was the last of that as they go 3 wide once again into turn number 3. Kevin King right now, who is up 7 spots since the drop of the green flag, trying to get his way by Ryan Doucette, who was in the Coke Series in 2020, or 2021 rather, but trying to get his way back after staying out for a full calendar year this season. And now King has his hands full with Taylor Hurst, who has fallen back 11 spots since we started this race.
Yeah, Taylor Hurst definitely struggling with the long run pace here. This is where we're going to start seeing those drivers who made the needed adjustments to be better on that longer run come into play here, such as your Kevin Kings, as well as also a couple of others, as Taylor Hurst has decided to come down pit road by the looks of it.
He has, and as he came down pit road, you're starting to notice something a little bit different as well, Taylor. And we had this in the college series as well, that it was cloudy, it was relatively cool, but right now the sun's starting to poke out a little bit. Still mostly cloudy skies here at Nashville Superspeedway, but the moment that the sun popped out, the track picked up a degree or two of temperature, and that's likely to continue right now. It's 1 p.m. in sim time in Nashville, so it will continue to heat up, but Taylor Hurst electing to go 4 tires at this point, so I'd imagine for the next 10 to 15 laps or so, you're going to start to see a lot of drivers start to trickle their way down to the pit lane.
Yeah, and the track temperature is about 89 degrees, and that's going to continue to tick off a little bit hotter and hotter as the race progresses here, as we pick up the battle for 13th between the Altus Esports driver of James Wenzel and Briar LaPrade, as we got a replay of Vicente Salas.
See what happened here with the 55. You remember some of the contact that he had earlier, and oh boy, he almost hit the outside wall right there entering the corner, and Malik Ray said, I don't mind you being in front of me, but you can't stay in front of me that long, as it gives him the old boot to the outside wall. Ray right now in the 34th position, and Malik got a little bit of damage in that incident off of turn 4 where there was no caution flag with Tucker Minter, Dylan Alden, and the like. So Ray definitely behind the 8 ball, and it's no better for Salas right now, who's fighting a little bit of damage as well. And you can see Briar LaPrade still trying to hang on right now to a 14th spot. Was quick at Auto Club Taylor, but didn't quite have the track position to boot with it. And speaking of track position, here's some drivers that are trying to gain some more of it. And the 66 of Pfeffer and the 32 of Daniel Smallwood also will make their round of green flag pit stops.
Pit stops happening very early, about 10 laps earlier than what is expected. But of course, it is all based off of wanting fresh tires to try to see if they can make up some ground, as we now see the 77 of Ryan Doucette coming down pit road as well.
So Doucette also going to come down pit lane. Again, we are just a couple of laps away from the halfway marker of this race. You see LaPrade has made his way up a couple of spots, with some electing to make their way down pit road. And Taylor, there is a bit of a risk here with this short pitting. Obviously, you're hoping to gain some track position on the other side of this cycle. The problem is that you might go a lap down in the midst of this cycle. So if that happens, you're in a really bad spot, because then you're having to take the waiver out and you're having to play catch up the rest of the race. So a little bit of risk involved, and you're not often going to see that between a lot of your front runners who are doing well in the points. They don't need that risk right now. They're definitely going to go to halfway or a little bit past, even if they lose a little bit, not short pitting.
It certainly is the case, and that's going to be one to keep an eye on, as well as we see the number 4 of Jordy Lopez Jr. and Michael Cozy Jr. coming down pit road as well, as they will be able to not make it to the just about make it to the halfway point here, and they will continue on. So great strategy call from some of these drivers. We're going to see how this affects the rest of the field here. As we pointed out, Casey Tucker was one of the first cars to come down pit road, as well as Taylor Hurst. They are currently 1 lap down, but making some incredible lap times, almost a second faster than your race leader.
Yeah, it's a big difference, and We'll see who is coming down. It's a lot of drivers. It's Brendan Kohler. It's Andrew Navarro. Most of the field now, Taylor, has made their way down to pit road, and we'll have to see how the execution is. This is a deceivingly difficult track to get onto pit road with how tight it is, how flat the apron is. There's not really an ideal line that you can take off the corner to try and get down. So this is an interesting track to try to do it, as you saw Alan Bowes and Parker White nearly made contact getting into the pit lane. That's another thing that makes it difficult. Taylor, you're having to exit really right in the racing line to try to get onto pit road.
You really are going to have to do so, and it's so critical to try to alert the drivers around you to let you know that you're pitting. That's one of the great things about with the radios, where we're going to let people know we're coming down pit road. And of course, it's so critical to make sure you get on your exit and make sure you don't speed, as we saw Caden Honeycutt and a couple of others coming down. As we pick up our race leader, Joey Brown, he's going to try to extend his run a little bit further. He has about a 3.4 second lead as Derek Justice comes down pit road with Alan Bowes.
Derek Justice, Alan Bowes will make their way as we are just past the halfway point in this one. If you're just joining us, it's been clean and green so far after the running of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series that also took place at this same racetrack. It was Steven Wilson who continues to add to the purse total that he has collected in scholarship money in that series. And right now it was Parker White that took the pole, and Joey Brown, who was dominated up to this point, as he will surrender the race lead for the time being, as he will make his stop with 49 laps to go. A couple of drivers are still out on the racetrack, though. So Colin Keister, your series champion from last year, will stay out on the racetrack. You can see right there the Mangled Moon Car Chevrolet of Colin Bowden's got a little bit of damage on the right side of that 69 car, as he will also make his way down to pit road.
Certainly will. He's going to try to get some of that damage repair as he's on pit road here. Brian Mercurio battling with second place here, along with Dylan Alt, Ray Alfala, and now we see
Brian
close
Mercurio!
call right there.
Set called out, he was pitting, and they weren't able to get out of the way, so Mercurio makes it down. Keister may have also gotten a black flag. No, he didn't. He's all good, but contact made there with Brian Mercurio as he was trying to pit. It was Parker White that got into the back of him, and Jordy Lopez Jr. as they were about 2 and 3 wide. That's the risk, Taylor, of pitting or staying out, is that slower cars are going to hurt you. And for Parker White, he's going to have to worry about whether that engine can make it to the end or if he's going to start overheating here as this track continues to heat up and the ambient temperature continues to heat up as well.
It certainly is. That's a tough break right there as we are watching Parker White trying to negotiate through some of the slower traffic, as he has quite a bit of work to do with this strategy call as we pick him up around the circuit. He's got also the 4 of Jordy Lopez Jr. right there behind him, so this is for 11th. He's got a little bit of work to do, but I noticed a couple of other drivers who have came down pit road as we now see Parker White sliding it down on pit road. Close call for him as he now get a look at this replay here with Colin Keister.
And again, this has been tight. There's been a couple of all near misses all night long. As you could see, Colin Keister, look right behind this. You're going to see the 41 car coming to your frame. That's Brian Mercurio. You see Parker White nowhere to go as he was pinned to the bottom by Jordy Lopez Jr. And of course, I'm not blaming Lopez right there. There was just nowhere to go. Mercurio had to pit. He was pitting in the racing line, and Parker White, just an innocent bystander there. He has to come down, take some tape off of the nose of his car, and what looked like a solid top 5 run for Parker White, who runs 7th in the point standings and has a really good drop week right now. It looks like he's going to fall into drop week territory. He is back on the racetrack, 39th position, 1 lap down for Parker White. So a tough break there for that 95 Toyota.
It really is a tough break as we still have 5 cars out on the circuit who are still yet to pit. Dylan Alt, Ray Alfala, Jonathan Delaney, Malik Ray, and Blade Witt, who are still coming down as we see how much tires are so important here, as Dylan Alt is just getting blasted on by away from the rest of the field who are trying to unlap themselves and trying to see what they can do with fresh tires.
Dylan Alt right here, still your race leader with that damage. And let's take one more look here at Parker entering the pit lane. He hits the clutch and then re-engages it, and he nearly loops it. And Taylor, I can tell you that's probably an issue where the water or the oil's overheating and you want to pause that a little bit, but also if you're going to pop the clutch like that and just immediately release it, I don't know, maybe he planned to enter that way because he entered pit road fantastically, but that's pretty risky right there, getting really close to that grass to do it.
It's a very bold strategy in order to do it. He was almost trying to clutch kick it a little bit to try to make sure he can turn it into pit road. But like you pointed out, it could have been also due to the fact of the damage that he received the nose of the car, trying to make sure that car does not overheat, because he did receive some significant damage to the nose of that number 95 Toyota.
So Alt still out on the racetrack again. It's about 60. I'm imagining, Taylor, it's probably 60 to 65 at maybe the just very most, and that's if you're saving and lifting quite early. Again, I made it about 70, but I was lifting at practically the start-finish line entering turn 1 last year, so I don't imagine you're going to see a whole lot of that right here. Imagine how much longer these drivers can go. But if they do get a caution here, if you're Ray Alfalla, if you're Jonathan Delaney, or particularly if you're Alfalla because he doesn't have any damage, if you get this caution right here, you've completely flipped the script. You have the track position, you have the same tires as everybody, so you'll be in a really good spot. But you also look further back, Derek Justice right now, running in the 12th position, who was up there in the top 3. This is how much not short pitting kind of hurt Derek Justice.
Yeah, as we see him watching on, of course, Jordi Lopez representing one of the flags on the roof of his car, the number 4, representing the Dominican Republic by the looks of it. But he is still having a little bit of a quiet run as he's trying to see what he can do. He's one of those drivers who came in around the same time as Derek Justice, as well as Brendan Collier. So we'll see how this plays out for him. But for right now, he is currently, as we get a better look at it from our drone camera, looks to be the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, some great shots right there. There's a little bit of a unique touch to all these orange and blue cars that look mostly the same, but if you look pretty close, they each all have their unique colors and schemes and flags and whatnot. So cool for Jordi Lopez Jr. to have that on the roof of his machine. You can see Caden Honeycutt right now, who's lost a couple of position, or no, he's still running in the 3rd position, or what would be 3rd after this cycles through, and you imagine the top 5 comes down. But right now, Taylor, Joey Brown has continued to build his lead. He was up about 2 seconds before that cycle, and with everybody that has come down to the pit lane, he's over 3 seconds now ahead of Derek Bordeaux. So Joey Brown had a great entrance to the pit road and is just continuing to dominate here, much like he did at Homestead a couple weeks ago.
Picked up a full second after his pit stop. So absolutely incredible drive and a run here that he has currently during this stage of the race. And he's currently looking to try and hunt down his next victim, which would be Blade Witt, to get around him for the 5th spot as we pick up Caden Honeycutt. And some significant nose damage right there to number 10 of Tucker Minter, as we pointed out. Seth DeBerchin running 34th, and Michael Cozy Jr., the other Altus Esports drivers.
Yeah, obviously all Logitech Altus Esports cars. We were talking about the unique touches on each of their cars, and you can see some differences there. You see Michael Cozy Jr., the bottom left-hand side of your screen, a little bit of neon green right there. The numbers obviously different on each paint scheme, as Tucker Minter going to fall in the standings from his 3rd spot where he runs currently, and Seth the Merchant his 3rd consecutive year running in the Contender Series, trying to reach the top step of the ladder, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series for the first time. And Cozy has his hands full with a couple of drivers, Cody Bias and Derek Justice, trying to make their way by on this cycle of tires.
They certainly are, as we can report. Dylan Alt and Ray Alfalla have come down pit road. That just leaves Jonathan Delaney and Malik Ray, who have yet to pit, which Malik is starting to run down Jonathan Delaney for the lead, but they still have to come down pit road, which they have done now, returning the race lead to Joey Brown, your race leader.
And Malik Ray, this is not going to help him either. He was 12 above the cut line, but unfortunately for him, Taylor, this works into kind of how those drops work for you and how they can work against you. Malik Ray took a drop at Phoenix. He only scored 1 point right there, and with the damage he has and how he's going to cycle out in this one, he's looking into having a race that you certainly wouldn't want to count on your record is going to be counting here in this one. So Ray looked good coming into tonight, but he's likely going to fall out or at least close to that cut line, which is not where you want to be with about 3 races to go.
It certainly is not a place you want to be. Meanwhile, some other drivers who are looking to try to improve upon their points runnings. How about Derek Bardot, Caden Honeycutt, and Alan Bowes all jockeying for the position here as we're on board with Derek Bardot in the second spot. He has got Taylor Hurst behind him. Of course, Taylor Hurst is about a lap down right now for the time being as he's trying to work his way up the field. Caden Honeycutt trying to hunt him down for second place.
So Derek Bordeaux, a driver who is sitting pretty right now. We talked about drops working for you and against you. His lowest finish right now would be 9th place. So Bordeaux continuing to build to where he may not even have to show up the last week or so to find his way into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series next year. But about 2/3 of the way through here at Nashville Superspeedway, we'll give you the sights and sounds of the Music City as we go iRacing full throttle. Three wide here in turns 3 and 4 is LaPrade looking to try to hang on as Brandon McKissick, and you see Blade Whip right there. He's on the fresher tires 1 lap down, but he is trying to get around some cars to cycle his way back onto the lead lap. Just a little bit over a quarter of the way to go, and here in this one, 27 laps to go. We have not had a caution flag yet to speak of. Of course, that could change and would really flip this race completely sideways as it did when we were at Homestead a couple of weeks ago with the late yellow. You just never know how these things are going to play out. As you see some good battling right there on the outskirts of the top 10. Brandon McKissick right now running in the 14th spot. We saw some battling there under full throttle between Derek Bordeaux and Caden Honeycutt right now, who are trying to jockey for second, but they are now, Taylor, 5 seconds behind Joey Brown, who has continued to build that race lead.
For the Houston, Texas native, this is definitely a run he is very excited about as we pick up the battle for P2 between Derek Bordeaux and Caden Honeycutt. These two will try to jockey and battle for that second spot here as they come off of turn number 2. Bordeaux really getting a good run-off corner exit, but there you see Caden Honeycutt keeping with the pace, just trying to bide his time, seeing how his car is maybe a little bit better on the longer run. Derek trying to just make sure he can keep the number 30 Toyota behind.
The Canadian and Derek Bordeaux and the Texan in Caden Honeycutt putting on a show for these fans, as Bordeaux has been a returner from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series from several years ago. He was in the series last year, and at least as far as these first 4 races are concerned in this Contender series, looks well on his way to transferring in. You can see Caden Honeycutt right there, who I was reading an article just a little bit earlier, Taylor Burris, about Honeycutt and his plans for next year. He hopes to have a deal to run full-time in the NASCAR, what will be called the Craftsman Truck Series next year. And boy, would that be something for Caden Honeycutt, who was so good in the Cars Tour this past year and is looking to finalize a deal. He had some good runs in that 30 truck, and we'll hope to do some more in 2023 if all goes well and all works out.
Talk about this, we'll have a driver in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series and the NASCAR Coca-Cola Series, so very busy schedule for Caden Honeycutt as he tries to solidify his chances of returning in 2023 in both real and virtual competition.
Not only that, there's a couple of Coke Series drivers that will be busy in the real world. You have Ryan Luza, who will be competing in the Snowball Derby for Anthony Campy Racing at Five Flags this weekend. So, of course, we want to wish the best of luck to Ryan Luza, your winner at Bristol in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series this past season. So, a lot of drivers getting done both in the real world and in the virtual world, as this battle for Derek Justice says he has a little bit fresher tires than what's in front of him is for 5th position. You have Tinsley on the bottom. Here's Cody Bias on the top side, and Justice sitting there in 7th, looking for a way around. And how about Michael Cozy Jr., who has been the biggest gainer right now that runs in the top 10, started in 18th and runs in the 8th position.
How about that 10 spots gain as we watch that battle for P5 here, and Tinsley being very aggressive, trying to hold that bottom lane up a little bit to keep others from going to his inside as the 12 and has some more trouble. I think maybe Malik Ray might have been a little bit of a helping hand of that possibly, as we watch and pick back up the action here. Wyatt Tinsley, Alan Bowes, as well as also the drivers of Derek Justice and Cody Bias as they work their way through the middle of 1 and 2. Bias stuck on that outside lane. Not the preferred line here in this early in the stage.
No, it hasn't been, and he's going to lose 1 spot. He's going to lose 2, and he may lose 3 here with Michael Cozy Jr. looking to pounce on the mistakes of that number 27 car with the fresher tires. We'll see if Cozy can do it. He's moved past his teammate in Jordy Lopez Jr., who had been ahead of him at one point in this race. A little further back, you see Brendan Kohler. Kevin King has done an amazing job in this race, too, as well. Taylor started in 26th, finds himself in the 11th position, and it should be no shocker. He's running probably what I would imagine is the same setup as that driver that's running right now in P1 and Joey Brown, aligned with him after that first race in the Contender Series. And for Kevin King, it has paid off in some good finishes and what would be his best one of the year if he's able to hang on for 11th. 4 above the cut line coming in. This is going to serve Kevin King well right here if he's able to hang on to this 11th place finish with 18 to go.
It certainly is. It's a much-needed good points night for Kevin King in order to try to solidify his return into eNASCAR competition as he tries to work his way into the top 10. He's about half a second back from Brendan Collier for that spot, so he's got a little bit of work to do as we pick up Colin Keister along with a couple of the Briar LaPrade and one of the Altus Esports driver, that's Ryan Doucette. So this is, I have to say, around the 16th position by the looks of things, 16th to about 20th. So great little battle here as we throw in Timmy Holmes in the 67th.
You know, Timmy Holmes has been a driver that's been pretty sneaky and been having some quiet but consistent runs in this Contender Series. And if you think about it, I know we spend a lot of time talking about the top 10, who's running in the top 15. But if you're Timmy Holmes right now, you're sitting comfortably 9th in the points, 21 above that cut line, and you're running in the 17th position. You know, these aren't the runs that you'll remember years from now, Taylor, but guess what? We're taking 20 drivers. You're running in the top 20. Rule of thumb is that that's a good run, and Timmy Holmes has done a really good job, been very impressive so far in this Contender Series, and not somebody that I'm sure everybody had on their radar, but teams are going to have to start looking at this guy because he looks poised to be in the Coke Series next year.
And that's what a lot of these Coke teams are going to have to start looking at here as we get further and further into the Contender Series, because they may have a driver who they had and may not be able to return for next season. So they got to start looking at who is going to be that next superstar that they need to consider hiring on to sign for their 2023 campaign here, as we pick back up the battle for second between Derek, Caden Honeycutt, and Alan Bose in the mix. The two Duval machines trying to battle to get around the legacy driver of Caden Honeycutt. But it's so critical to keep an eye on some of these fresh new talents that are coming into play here.
It is. You have fresh talent. You have some drivers who have been around for a while. Derek Bordeaux and Alan Bose. Bose, your winner last week at Auto Club and representing Dead Zone Racing, who typically sends a lot of drivers into this series. You think about when they move up to the Coke Series, there are a lot of drivers that call Dead Zone their technical alliance home. And because of that, you tend to see a lot of those drivers in this series as well. So a lot of continuity in that Dead Zone group, and you can see it really play out in performances like you have from Derek Bordeaux right now in second, like an Alan Bose in fourth, and like a Cody Bias right now that runs in seventh. But you can see this battle, Taylor. These are all drivers that were in the Coke Series last year, not having so great a runs right now. Obviously, Ray Alfala, Dylan Alt, Daniel Buttafuoco. This is just on the outskirts of the lead lap.
And think about this. You have a four-time champion, one of the only drivers in eNASCAR competition also to lead every lap and win the race. And then Dylan Auld, who was a decent mid-pack contender for some great runs in the Elliott Sadler Esports Chevrolet. And they're towards the back half of the field. They're not in contention for even a top 25 finish by the looks of it, unless we get a caution here in these final 12 laps.
Again, we saw it at Homestead. We saw a spin that changed kind of the whole entire complexion of that race, but we talk about it, and I talked about it the last couple broadcasts I did, that when you get to this level, Taylor, it's a little bit different. We saw a lot of attrition in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series this season with the next-gen car, the shorter races, whatever you want to chalk it up to. Every position matters. Every position pays out a different prize individually for the races, for the teams, and obviously that $100,000 purse that they're chasing, or prize that they're chasing at the end of the year. But when you get back to this series, you're racing a little bit differently because you're trying to race above a threshold where half the series roughly makes it up to the next level. You're going to be a little bit easier when you're running third or fourth. You want any point that you can get. You're not going to push the issue. You don't want to take a fourth place run and make it a 35th place run. You're willing to play a little patient and just have a solid point stay, because at the end of the day, a fifth, a 10th, it's all getting you towards that same goal.
It's all about balance and consistency. You want to be balanced. You still want to show a little aggression if you want to feel like you have what it takes to win the race. But you don't, like you said, want to throw it away towards the end. So these drivers like Caden Honeycutt, Alan Bose, Wyatt Tinsley, yes, they want to try to maybe have the chance of winning a contender race. But also they realize they are in a good contention and maybe have a shot of returning or moving on to the Coke Series in 2023. As well as also making sure you balance and also taking your time to work your way through, unlike some of our other drivers who are trying to work their way back up through the field who are outside that top 20.
They're definitely trying to do just that. Only 9 laps to go in a race that has gone caution-free up to this point. It was 80 laps earlier. Steven Wilson took the win, the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. And in this Contender Series, we have seen a lot of racing here in these Xfinity cars at Nashville tonight, as you continue to watch Caden Honeycutt and Alan Bose duking it out on your screen. A lot of positions up for grabs here, especially around 16th, 17th or so. A lot of close battles going on. You see 2 NFR teammates right now, and Derek Justice and Wyatt Tinsley battling each other. And it doesn't look like Tinsley going to put up much of a fight there. Justice going to eke his way back into the top 5 and going to do himself some favors, as he was tied on the cut line coming into this race. 5th place going to help him a lot. And even Wyatt Tinsley, he's been very impressive these last handful of races or so. Somebody that's been around the fixed community and iRacing for a while. I've raced around him a lot, and he's done a very, very solid job here in this Contender Series, as Alan Bose will try to go by and will complete the pass on Caden Honeycutt for third.
Beautiful pass right there as they came down the back straightaway, as we now see Alan Bowes now hold into that third spot. Honeycutt going to just bide his time. He may show the nose a little bit here or there occasionally, but realize he is in a comfortable position for his return to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
And Honeycutt even came over the radio there and said to Alan Bowes, well, I tried. I tried to hold you off, and I guess he did a solid job for a number of laps, but right now Alan Bowes just too quick for that 30 Toyota to hold him back right now. But again, I think if you're Caden Honeycutt, he had some issues just signing into the service a little bit earlier today. He was looking for a rig, had some internet issues, but ended up sorting it out, and obviously is well served to be here tonight, and he's going to get a good finish out of it as well. So good for him, able to sort all of that out. I also got to give a nod to Blaze Crawford. He hasn't exactly had the luck that he's wanted early on in this Contender Series, running right now in the 12th position. He's having a solid run and going to make for some fits for some drivers that are looking to try to make ground up, Taylor, that are having good runs beneath that top 20. Crawford right now, not where he wants to be, 30th in the points, 11 behind the cut line, but 12th going to help him quite a bit for Elliott Sadler Esports to try to get into the Cook Series.
Certainly is. He's hunting down Kevin King right now for that 11th spot. He's in contention possibly for a top 10 if he's able to get a good enough run, but picked up 5 spots so far as he tries to keep pace with King and Collier. He's got, of course, James Wenzel right there, who's having a much-needed good run for the season.
Wenzel, I mean, he's last in the points. It's easy to give up at this point, but he's doing a solid job. He's going to continue to fight for the second half of this Contender Series schedule, running in 13th. So good for James Wenzel, who's right behind them, trying to make up some spots. But up front, Taylor, it has been all Joey Brown. He is 7.5 seconds clear. And Taylor, we talk about these short races and we talk about how good the competition is, how close everybody is, how these setups are all so close because the teams have had so much time to work on them, and yet here is Joey Brown, and it's not even close. Derek Bordeaux right now is not even off a turn 2, and Joey Brown has just completely set sail. An amazing performance right now for the Coke veteran, looking for the white flag this time.
He certainly is. As the white flag is out one more time around for Joey Brown after he puts the 55 of Vicente Salas a lap down. Unfortunately, not the 9 he's been wanting to have here, but one more time around Nashville for Joey Brown.
And very good for him as he takes the white flag. He knows that a caution flag will not slow him at this point, and all he has to do is make one more set of corners here at the Nashville Superspeedway, down to the bottom side of turns 3 and 4 for the final time, and for the second time in the eNASCAR Contender Series in 2022, Joey Brown is going to go to victory lane. He wins at the Music City and puts a dominating performance and wraps it up with a great run here at Nashville, his second win of the year. And it looks like the best of the battle for second is going to be Alan Bowes, who gets it over Derek Bordeaux, Caden Honeycutt, and Derek Justice, who round out your top 5.
A couple of other legacy drivers going to do battle here between Chris Pfeffer and Casey Tucker as they come across the line. Pfeffer will beat out Tucker for the 27th position.
Again, a lot of battles happening well behind Joey Brown because they finished so far behind him. We had a lot to keep up with after the checkered flag fell down, as you're going to see Joey Brown, just as he did at Homestead, Miami just a couple of weeks ago, burning out here on the front straightaway. Even had a finish back at Auto Club, was 4th in that race, or excuse me, back at Phoenix. He was 4th at Phoenix earlier this year, so a 4th and 2 wins. And he's, again, Taylor, so much competition here, and he's just made it look easy.
He certainly has made it look easy as he parks it now, lights him up here to celebrate here in the Music City. But it just shows that the competition has been amped up and a lot of big new talent coming through the ranks here to try to see what they can do in this chance to return or come into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Joey Brown, your winner tonight, and the Nashville Superspeedway, 100 laps that went green the entire distance, and this is how they finished up. Joey Brown, Alan Bowes, Bordeaux, Honeycutt, Justice, your top 5, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. Great run for Wyatt Tinsley. Nets him a 6th-place finish. 7th is Cody Bias. Michael Cozy Jr., a great run for that 99 group. He finishes in the 8th spot. 9th is Jordy Lopez Jr., and Kevin King, a wonderful drive for him, gets him in the top 10 after starting 26th.
We look to the top 20 as Collier, Blaze Crawford with a strong run in 12th, James Wenzel 13th, Andrew Navarro, Brandon McKissick, Tyler Gary, Colin Keister, Timothy Holmes, Ryan Duchette, and Brian Mercurio rounding out your top 20.
Unfortunately, this is the side of the finishing order you do not want to be on, because this race isn't going to help you to try to make the top 20. LaPrade, Hill, Falkingham, DeMerchant, Colin Bowden, a couple of those drivers suffering a little bit of damage throughout the night. Boyd Hogan, Christopher Pfeffer, Casey Tucker, Ray Alfala continuing his struggles here in this Contender Series in 29th. Daniel Smallwood finishes 30th.
Rounding out the rest of your field, Dylan Alchente Salas, Daniel Buttafuoco, all of those drivers lapped down, including Malik Ray, Blade Witt, Jonathan Delaney, Parker White, Tucker Minter, and Taylor Hurst DNFs as he takes it behind the wall.
39 drivers competed. It was Kyle Myers who did not attend tonight, so he misses his 2nd straight race. So 39 drivers made their way out to Nashville Superspeedway tonight, as we are ready to talk once again with our winner tonight in Joey Brown. Gets it done in dominating fashion. I know we talked to you a couple weeks ago, Joey, and I was kind of asking about your return to sim racing and how much fun it was to be back and be competitive. But putting this 4th race under your belt, 2nd win, 3 top 5s, I mean, you got to be sitting on easy street almost for these last 3 races, I would imagine.
Man, that was awesome. Our goal coming in today was top 5 finish. Top 5, we felt like was going to be pretty good as far as locking us into Coke next year. And so we put a lot of time and effort into it. And, man, to come out with a win and just as fast as that was just pretty awesome.
It certainly was. And, you know, I have to start to think, if you're in your position, you're going to be in a great points position. Is there any part of the back of your mind that thinks maybe this is a done deal? Maybe I ought to start looking at that next-gen car, trying to find some speed early on for next year? Is there any part that creeps into your mind about that, or is it all focused on this Xfinity car down to the final race?
No, I think our focus is on this car till the end of the series. We're going to finish it out. We're going to finish strong. We're in a position now where we have a good shot at the points championship. So I think that's the next goal. There's plenty of time after the series. We'll get up to speed with the next gen and stuff. And we already got Brad and Brody, and they're experts on that car already. So we'll be pretty good there. I think focus on the Xfinity car, finishing out strong. Hopefully get the points championship.
All right, Joey. By the way, I love the baseball jersey that you're rocking at each and every race.
It's Astros, by the way. You were
oh,
man.
About it the other week. Maybe I don't like it as much.
Hometown team. But, yeah, man, we got Gossett Bus Lines on the car for this race, too. They put a lot of help and support as far as helping out with running laps and doing stuff like that. And so it was pretty awesome having them on board. Their hometown is in Nashville. So, like, to get the win for them, it's awesome.
It's great stuff there, Joey. Well, congratulations, your 2nd win, and who knows, we may be talking to you before a little bit. As Taylor, we're going to turn you over to Alan Bowes, last week's winner, or I guess 2 weeks ago, I should say, last race winner, and he is standing by with you.
Yes, we are. We're here with Dead Zones Racing's very own Alan Bowes. Alan, I mean, what was it out there for the conditions for your racing? I mean, you had a good spirited battle with your teammate Derek. And what was that a little missing factor to try to go up there and challenge for the race lead?
I think we were just a little bit too tight, center of the corner. I didn't really get to see how much center rotation Joey had, because by the time I got to where I could see him, he was gone. So, first and foremost, I got to thank everybody that did work on the setup: Jarrett Liebert, Dustin Lingard, Houston Hamer, Cody Bias. Week in and week out, they put together some rocket ships, so couldn't do it without those guys. Blake Reynolds, Justin Nasir, Sean Butler, Gregory Allen Lewis, those guys, they keep me in the game every race. So again, couldn't do it without them.
It certainly is. Well, we look forward to seeing you at the next round here as we turn over to your teammate, Derek Bordeaux. And Derek, a great drive for you as well, as it's a dead zone 2-3 finish. Talk us through a little bit about how your run was, because you started a little bit further through the back of the field, but was able to fight your way for this podium finish.
Yeah, the weather, first of all, it threw us a real big curveball. We were not prepared for that at all. I was buying my time early on, and then through mid-run, I kind of was panicking a little bit. I was way too tight center, and then late run, it came to me. So we made good pit stop adjustments. We leapfrogged a couple people. Some stuff happened in the race behind me, and we held on for second until the last lap, last corner pretty much. But I was just pretty much not risking any incident. So just trying to build on the good finishes that I had and just keep on racking up those points.
Well, it certainly was a great run for you. Congratulations on your podium finish there, Derek, here with Dead Zone Racing.
Yep, thank you.
So Derek Bordeaux brings it home in the third position, Taylor, and with just it seems like we're just a couple of days into this season already, but just 3 races left in the Contender Series. The cut line is as close as ever. Looking at some of the updated unofficial standings after this race, that's the way it always is, Taylor, but only 3 races left to go. And by the way, next up, a track that these drivers are going to love, Dover. A track that demands a lot of great qualifying and a lot of commanding of your track position and doing all those little things right, but not a lot of time to get it done. Only 120 laps. We'll go back quickly there.
Very quickly, and I'm pretty sure Miles the Monster will be pretty hungry in the virtual world as well, because that race, I'm pretty sure we'll see a little bit more chaotic compared to the little bit of the calm, laid-back racing that we saw here at the Nashville Superspeedway. But it's going to be very critical to see who comes out on top after these 3 races.
And again, that'll be right here on all of iRacing's streaming platforms. If you're watching on YouTube or on Twitch or on twitch.tv/NASCAR, wherever you're watching, perhaps even eNASCAR.live is where you can find all of our coverage and continuing coverage of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series in 2022. And remember to take advantage of Black Friday sales. It runs out this week, so go ahead and get it done. If you want to get into iRacing, 50% off. If you want to renew your subscription, 25% off. That ends at the end of the week, so not a whole lot of time to do it. Go ahead and do it now before you head to bed here on the East Coast. But for our entire broadcast team and for our broadcast team in the booth, Taylor Burris, I'm Blake McCandless saying so long for the Nashville Superspeedway, where we bid you farewell, and congratulations to tonight's winner, Joey Brown.